So I'm here again with Axaru, Mr.
Fuck you
Kutulu,
channel.
and yeah, that.
It was actually inspired from Amazing Atheist. His video is called Disproving God, and he said, "Hi, I'm the Amazing Atheist, and you're watching the Fuck You channel." Haha, all right.
And
So I got the inspiration from him to
well,
name
I
my
saw.
channel.
Now the more I guess it's because it's called Angry Birds and there was a cartoon. But the your channel was listed as a kid-friendly channel.
Yeah, that was abandoned, the Angry Bird, because when after I decided that, oh yeah, I remember that video from Amazing Atheist. He said, I'm gonna take the inspiration for the Fuck You channel from him. So that was better. But the Angry Bird was like the second best, you could say.
Well, I'm reminded of now, I mean, this was before I was born, but there was a Mr. Rogers sketch where he was showing people the fingers, and he's here is tall man flipping everybody off, and I don't know whether it was this. He realized
Mr.
what
Rogers.
he was doing. So that being even better graphic to have have your thing is Mr. Rogers flipping the bird.
Never heard about him. Maybe I should check him out someday. Yeah. But you're ready to go, and everything is set up perfectly over there.
Yeah.
I still can't see you though.
I'm set up. So aside from Araxu and stuff like this, there's his name particular to this channel. You could say znz Zins. And I think there's what?
I was just repeating you. Anyway, continue.
But yeah, that's it has stuff about state, but we've got past the spiritual opinions. I mean, I'm sure there's more stuff he acts about, but we are on to the
What do you feel like we should talk about in this video? What do you think? Should it be more like spontaneous talk, or should we focus on something special, or?
Well, a lot of that has a lot of our talking has been spontaneous. Other people would have been. There are people who we could have talked through both lists in half an hour. Some people, but that's not what either of us felt like.
Should we continue in that stream, or I kind of like the spontaneous talk very much.
So, to those who have not watched this, have not caught on to the other part, but have you had a spiritual experience?
Yes. All the time. It depends on how you define a spiritual experience. To me, a spiritual experience, like I told you in my last video, is my definition of a spiritual experience is any fucking experience that goes outside of society. That's a pretty simple definition. Like if you put on the TV, or you put on the radio, or put on any mainstream sources of information, if you experience anything in your consciousness outside of that, that's what I call a spiritual experience, I would say. And what do you have to say about it?
Well, certainly it does. It's one of the things that I've said that, I mean, I may talk about certain people and, you have an opinion on Taylor Swift. How dare you? That's not left-hand path, I think is the comment that someone left on there. But well, it was against her. At least they could have acknowledged that part of it. But it's not about the individual. It's not about the country or the political party or anything like this. Like for example, these people, what do you know what the first mention in the Quran of Muhammad by name is? It basically basically it's pointing out that it's 344, I think it is. It's pointing out that if Muhammad's killed or died, are you going to turn your back? It's not any particular this living master stuff. Y'all, so many rail on this living master stuff. It's like, is the teaching valid or is it not valid? That's it. Not whether the guy's still alive or not. But so I know you've talked about dreams before. Any particular type of dream that
I would want to put it like this. I think you talked about spiritual experience. I think spiritual experience is our natural state. I think it's not a matter of adding something. It's a matter of subtracting. So whenever you subtract any mainstream source of information or any narrative of society from your consciousness, then you go back to your natural state. And so I think that the cultures back in the days, like the Native Americans or the Samis or any natural occurring culture, they didn't have anything such as a spiritual experience because it was their natural state. And so I think that we humans need to come back to our natural state rather than seek for a particular experience. So I think that any spiritual experience we're seeking is to get back to our natural state and away from the layers that are blocking, so to speak. So just wanted to.
I guess a better way to put it, not so concisely, is like life can be spiritual, but I mean the awareness of beyond the physical plane, I guess you could say, and I guess that can be connected otherwise, but not quite in the Baptist sort of way, where every other Baptist is. If they do have something other than Jesus saved me, they're like basically their thought, their emotions, those are God, and that's not quite it either. Or you don't accept my feelings. Well, you have feelings, saying otherwise, but that people saying you don't love God because you don't love. It's like just because you feel good about something doesn't mean that you put that on me like you're.
I mean, do Christians even have feelings? That's another topic in and of itself. Do they even have emotions?
To connect it to the whole autism, people don't realize. Okay, two ways that you can. Two ways also that at least another way that you can describe autism is it's not that you're deficient in any.
We're both autistic, you and I think.
What?
I think you and I are both autistic.
But what happens chemically is that we have higher levels of things.
Exactly.
And that it means that if anything, we have super strong emotions that we're just so we don't have to feel like we have to go around expressing everything. Sort of.
We're intense. We're intensely alive. So that's what we call powerful emotions. Emotion to me is a sign of being intensely responsive to life, which is the complete opposite of what 90% of today's people are. Like 99% of the people today, they are the complete opposite of that. They are what we call apathetic. They don't respond or react to anything at all anymore. And so we autistic people are kind of the perfect contrast to that, because we're telling people to, that's why people don't like us. They react. They're jealous of us because we are intensely alive. We haven't still yet been destroyed by society like they have. And some part of them can still sense that, these people, they are, intensely feeling things. And because I can't have that, I can't allow them to have this. So let's call them psychiatrically sick and let's send them to the psychiatric hospital and let them get their, apathetic medications. So that's how I kind of see the whole thing.
But when they want us to calculate something, figure out something, they're like, okay, well, then they're valuable. This guy can help things or put together a machine or something. But otherwise, no. Let's.
By the way, are you recording this? By the way.
I thought you said that you were ready for that. Yeah.
Okay, we've already recorded, right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, cool. Just
But
checking. Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Okay, anyway, continue.
most of these questions are going to be about that. But yeah, I definitely understand that perspective that it could sound, to some people, even watching this, it might sound like
Yeah,
I figure Final Snow, for instance, Cynthia Nocturnus or
yeah.
something notices that, oh, he's finally talking to Axaru. Okay, I'll watch this one. The
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Final Snow, yeah. Long time
uh,
no seen. Is it still
uh,
on
uh,
YouTube?
for Cynthia Nocturnus, he released a new album. I was listening to that after I got out my,
Oh,
because I used the
cool.
restroom, washed up again, and
Yeah,
okay, I have some time. I'm banging. I got out my goat drum and some
yeah.
chimes and stuff, and then you said there was more time. And then I started listening to his new album that he released on his
Wow. What's the
YouTube.
name of the album?
Um, the Battle Within or something like that.
Uh-huh.
It's I don't
I
know.
kind of listened to his music a little bit in the past,
X
and I think yeah, yeah.
R
He has
I.
great lyrics, I think. Yeah.
But
Did you find it?
oh well, I can't get to the link. Things are propped up
All right.
here. My
Maybe you
you know
can put the link in the comment section below so people can find him, his music. I mean, I think that Final
uh,
Snow's music is very
yeah well
individualistic.
I interviewed him back in October, I think. So that
Yeah.
you know, so the name of his channel's on that.
Okay,
Rosenti.
cool.
Yeah.
I gotta check it out later. I mean,
It's
it was a long
on
time.
the list, and that's where these are going. But
Yeah.
yeah, one of the things that I've noticed it with Sufi orders. I noticed it with a lot of stuff. Is these people that
Yeah.
it's all about a particular experience, and then that's it. So they're waiting to encounter an angel or whatever. I've
Mhm.
watched this show Evil, and now that I know that's fiction, but it's getting across the point because here's this priest that's had a couple really strong spiritual experiences, and he can't get back to it, and he's doubting himself all over the place for no good reason.
Mhm.
He had a couple good experiences. He should be trying
Yeah.
to what he considers to be the good life, but
Mhm.
it's all
Yeah.
like you know um very good.
That can happen many times.
But yeah, that people are like that. It's like, okay, I
I
can
can
dance
relate to that.
with the Sufis and chant and all this stuff, and every 4 times I have an experience, but the rest of my life, some of these people they seem more miserable because they expect they're expecting this
Mhm.
colorful experience, like they're tripping out on acid, but they're not tripping out on acid. They've just chanted and danced.
Okay, yeah.
Because
That can be a hindrance to spiritual experience, like expectation, right?
yeah, I must admit that happened on one of my outings. Back before I
Uh,
had YouTube, I had people over for seasonal gatherings, trips up to mountains, meditating,
yeah.
stuff like that. And
Oh, cool.
one time, what?
Yeah,
And one of these trips, I was in the ape caves, and I was like,
yeah.
I'm not really experiencing any more than my regular day, and I basically expected that, and it kind of,
Mm,
but by the end of the trip,
yeah,
it was finally we were leaving the cave, the last meditation spot that we're going to stop at. Just
yeah.
just the experience, I didn't see any weird lights or something. Just the experience, the very slight amount of light that we didn't even notice when
Uh-huh.
we were there, from some
Yeah,
tiny little hole that just got bigger and
yeah.
bigger and bigger as we sat there in the dark. That was
Uh-huh.
that was, but I was expecting strange lights and presences or something that was just
Yeah, yeah,
that I don't experience every day. And
yeah.
that was it, because I'm not discounting some of these experiences, but it's
Mhm.
you got to do behaviors for themselves. You got to
Mm,
realize, okay, this right here is worthwhile, and then that's
mhm.
it. And then you might have even more experience. I find that out too. Is the whole
Mm. Maybe the next, maybe when you accept, whatever comes, it's like a gateway to the higher experiences. Like if you expect it, that maybe that's the blocking kind of thing.
and as
So,
I've said with the last one, it doesn't mean that I don't defend myself or anything like that. But it's
yeah,
like, you know, it's
yeah,
like the had I got hurt, there was a
Yeah.
There was a guy who I guess was trying to kill me, and
Oh,
well, I guess
shit.
a couple other guys
Really?
before that. What?
Yeah.
He
Someone
was
trying to
looking for
kill you.
he was looking for a Jew, and he figured out I wasn't a Jew, but just he otherwise figured out that I wasn't part of any church that
What?
he recognized. So
Yeah.
he went to his car, got some gloves, and
Yeah.
yeah, he came after me. He was
Oh,
obviously hoping not to leave any prints. Um,
yeah. Oh,
but
shit.
had that guy, had I not won that or something, it's like, okay, well, that's
Yeah.
just something that, it's not something I welcome. No, that's why, you know,
Yeah.
I've seen people put their well, the one guy I interviewed has put his
Yeah.
address out there on the internet, and I'm like, yeah, I would
But
never
what?
do that.
What did he put
Especially
there, Sid?
what?
What did he put there again?
He put his address out on the internet, and
Oh,
it's like,
address. Okay. Yeah.
and he said it in one of his at least one of his videos, and saying, if you have a problem with me, you could show up. Either we could talk or we could fight it out or whatever. It's like, I would
Mm-hmm.
not do that. So even you know
Mm.
I just don't think that's a risk to do on the internet, particularly when you're arguing with people. You never know. um
Mm.
but the difficulty one faces in life, it's like, that's just, you got to
Mm.
accept that it's not like you can go back and change. You know, um,
Mm. Mm.
I would have liked not to have been hit by the van, but I got hit by a van. I
Yeah.
didn't get hurt by that. Actually, I sort
Okay.
of did. What?
Yeah.
I got hit by a van, and because I got up, they drove off. And I didn't think of
Uh-huh.
any, like it. I guess maybe it caused a blood clot or something, and I was just stuck on a floor, possibly dying. I mean, obviously wasn't dying, but it was one of those situations you could have, and it's like I really would have avoided that, but I just had to accept it. I wasn't like, oh, I wish this wouldn't happen. I was just, okay, well, whether I'm going to live
Yeah.
or die, this is it. If I get up off this floor, if I don't, um,
Uh-huh. It
so
was sort of kind of an acceptance there in a way.
it's
Like
like
you.
sort of a meditation. It's like
Mm.
I don't know how. One of the ways you used to die back in the day is like every other
Mm-hmm.
person just ended up with some sort of infection or something. They died. People
Oh,
almost
really?
never die of age, even today. Um,
Yeah.
there's been a couple of people that you could say have died of old age. One guy,
Yeah.
Chinese, he was like 200 and something years old. All his
Mm-hmm.
grandchildren died. They have his prints way back on old stuff. They've shown genetically, but he died. The guy 140 died too, but almost
Mm-hmm.
everybody else dies of something other than old age. But infection was
Oh,
one of the ways. You'd cut your finger,
shit.
and that would. And I cut my finger, and it swelled, and I squeezed that thing back down to normal, and I used the pain from that as a meditation, and it was very colorful, and it wasn't even bad like the pain of before that. But you
Uh-huh.
can just use your experience as a meditation per
Mm-hmm.
se. Um,
Wow. That's so inspirational in a way. Like pain also is very subjective in the way that we think about it in a way, maybe. And I think that a lot of pain in society is caused very much from people's attitudes and uh, how they've been primed to react to things in a way.
well,
So it's
like
very interesting that you mentioned that because it goes, yeah,
I was, I mentioned in the last show this series that I watched the first year of. I didn't pay for the series, but
uh-huh,
I ended up watching it anyways. Available. I guess
mm-hmm,
you can stream it for free now. But Evil,
mm-hmm,
and this show Evil.
yeah, yeah,
Wait, what was the point of Oh, I don't know that said I don't remember the thing, but
uh,
oh, they were doing.
oh, remember,
Now,
okay,
this is what people say: the 5 stages of possession. It's like, but that one where you're like, it's infestation or something like that, and it's like you
uh-huh,
even make yourself sick because of your
yeah,
attachment to these connect. You're accepting the influence of this demon, and therefore you hurt. And
mm-hmm,
people
mm-hmm,
psychosomatically hurt themselves. I
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I saw this video,
yeah,
real footage of people that can they literally strap down and they psychosomatically some sort of soar, even to the shape of a letter or a symbol or something sometimes. And it's like the stuff your mental connection can do to these things. And that's, that's one of the things that I kind of attach to this demiurgic influence, is that people can even hurt themselves. And it's like, there was nothing inherently hurting them until they kind of put that thing. And it's like the Necronomicon in terms of people using that spiritually. It's like,
that's a good example. Yeah, but seeing dogs barking and
books here of Assyrian and some other languages, and basically prove that the Necronomicon is not.
I've read the Necronomicon. Nothing bad ever happened to me. So,
but people have such faith in it.
Exactly.
Such faith in it that even though the tradition is not really an authentic tradition, whatever, it's some jumbled attempt at what could be the thing. But if you know any Acadians,
I see you again. Yeah. Now I see your dragon, which makes me happy.
Yeah, you gotta.
Yeah, continue.
But yeah, people, it opens psychic gateways, and maybe there are spirits and stuff that connect to that, but it's not because the tradition is authentic, because it most definitely isn't. Now you can do stuff. The idea that Marduk had 50 names and stuff like this, that's out there, but not what?
Yeah, that's I find those things interesting. Marduk's names, and I mean the Necronomicon is. Did you finish your 5 points, by the way? Let's do that first.
Oh, I didn't give the 5 lists, but basically I was saying one of those things about this so-called possession, possession of the house, possession of the person, that sort of thing. The one stage was that because of the influence of the demons, you're experiencing illness or pain or something like that, and it's not inherently physical. It's just, it's like people who tell themselves, "I'm going to get sick. I'm going to get sick. I just get exposed." Being cold doesn't make you sick. You can get frostbite or something, but it doesn't make you sick.
Do you think that doctors can make people sick a lot by telling people? I really much think that society, this is why many people are sick.
Or it can do the opposite, because the doctors give you so long to live, and you're like, you are surviving. And you have some guy get over some illness unexpectedly. There was no reason why he would get off, except his own spirit rose up against the diagnosis that I'm beating this thing here. Because
society sets people up for both failure and sickness and everything bad. So society is the original virus, and now they're talking about the coronavirus and all those things. But I think that those are all distractions from. That's what my last video is about. All these coronavirus, these are all distractions from people seeing the real virus. And the real virus is society. Very simple.
The Nietzscheans.
Unless people see that, nothing will ever improve. If you don't know the root of the problem, you can never see the solution. Right?
The what people call civilization is, I think whether that's what's coming out tonight or came out last night, I don't remember which one it was, but yesterday I walked outside in the snow. Unfortunately, some melted and fell on my book, but my book's...
Oh, at least you have snow there.
That's part of the reason why this outfit's here. Is
Did you know there's no snow in Sweden? Maybe it's the chemtrails, or maybe there's some chemtrails, or I think they're very much, because the weather the last 10 years have not been the way it has been for hundreds of years here in Sweden. What do you think about that? That
was the same thing up in Washington State. It's like all of a sudden, it used to be mostly mist on the western side of Washington, Oregon. It was mist like 300 days a year, almost never a hard rain. You could walk it with a jacket with a couple holes in it, you were fine. But all of a sudden, it rained less often, rained an extra 10 inches a year, an extra 10 inches a year, rains less often, and you ended up with 110 degrees. I was there that one summer. It's like it never got that hot before. It never got 108 before, but it got 110 when I was out there. And now you can't look at very specific things of a heat wave or something, but there is a change overall, and it's definitely because humanity's just pollute the planet. My country does most of the pollution, and it's saying everybody else fix up its own act. But some things have been fixed. Some it just.
I don't think human pollution can.
What?
I don't think human pollution itself can revolutionize the weather so quickly. I think there must be, a heightened technological, weather modification going on, because just these last 10 years, the weather has changed as if it's gone 1,000 years. And the worst part is nobody's fucking, reacting to this. Nobody's seems to notice. Am I the only one living on this planet to notice that, are people so fucking stupid they can't, notice the big differences that happen in weather, in for example, another thing here I live in Sweden, and it's like 90% of the whole town is like there's construction workers everywhere. Like, for example, there was construction workers in the middle of town where they were building some new floor or something, street floor, and it took 5 years to build it. And they removed all the they immobilized people so they couldn't walk over there. 5 years the whole town was basically shut off because of construction working. And 5 years later I look, okay, what have they built? And it's like 10 times more ugly than it was before they built the whole thing. And nobody notices this fucking shit.
The styles of building, it used to be, okay, people wove together a grass hut or whatnot, but if you were going to do something solid and lasting, you would do something that meant something. You would do something that had an effect.
Exactly.
And either they're purposely messing up and disturbing us with the vibrational sense of these patterns, or they just don't know and just building these monstrosities because they can build bigger buildings. And
because just so people have something to do in the days. I think it's all about that. Don't build anything meaningful, and take as much time as possible to build it, and build something completely meaningless, and so people have something to work with for the economy.
Like for example, I believe that we should go back to the day where you could wander out in the wilderness or in a cave, or there's going to be vandalism and remnants of drug use or whatnot left out there anyways. So why can't we go out there, and if I see, if I meditate and see something, that I can scratch it on the wall or put up some chalk or something. But it's, you find these walls covered out there out in the wilderness with graffiti and trash and stuff. But but it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable if it becomes like it used to be, that you go out in the cave with the torch and whatnot and write your visions on the wall when you're all done.
You can't do that anymore, because
it's even to the point if somebody wants a statue or something out in their yard, there's some sort of some ordinance or something that, oh no, we don't like that one where so they're making you remove stuff. You see laws that your own property you can't. But somebody with a wrecked tractor collection, that's just fine,
Yeah, it seems like they want to destroy creativity, and that's another problem with modern day civilization is it's you need permission to create, and you need permission to destroy as well. So destruction and creation, both of them are in the hands of the elite only. So no wonder people's lives are fucking meaningless, because I think that we humans are meant to create and destroy spontaneously as we go along, and I don't think civilization is natural in that sense.
Well, one of the underlying things of Vedic civilization is the idea that civilization proper, as they would call it, particularly when these uncivilized, it's like
Yeah.
that's the whole problem. It's I mean, humans naturally organized. It's what they've labeled as stereotypical,
Exactly.
particularly this Western-centric model. Because it's like as the Bible said, the Bible tells people take off the natural man, and it tells you to be against the God of this world and age. And I mean, the Pauline Christianity does, but it's like we're here in this world, we're here in this age, and who I naturally am, that's what I want to get back to, and that's why they hated. You see in the Grail stories.
Everything that is today is meant to remind us that we need to go back to what was our natural state in every area of life. Like that, maybe that's the only purpose of society, and is to remind us of, we need to go back to how things were.
Well, it's like nowadays. It's like people, the music they like, they stress themselves out because they just listen to it all the time and all this other stuff. But back in the day when it was like you sit down and play stuff, play some drum and some stuff with your buddies for 20 minutes after work or something, then you get yourself into the state, and that's it. But when you have stuff so loud all the time, it's bad on the heart. It doesn't matter who you are. It's bad on your heart. Your brain doesn't work as well, and that's the whole thing. Is that people just and then you see people, even the point of being in stress positions. You literally see people in stress positions watch TV or something or a movie. It's like
that's kind of the only entertainment you're allowed today is watching TV. It seems.
And
because no spontaneous.
When they're done with. Boom. Okay. All this boom. All this stopped. I mean, it's literally to the point where you hear people hear a woman screaming out of some house. They figure it's just the TV. Sometimes it's not. So
exactly.
I literally heard of people getting away with murder because they ended up putting on a movie afterwards. Well, I mean, at least they didn't get caught right away. It's like, oh, wait a second, you did kill people. Those we did. People did show up, and it's like. We took your word for it that it was a movie, But when they finally pay attention, it's like it's the stuff that should be making their life better that they're blaming on that because they can't, they can't blast the TV all day. They have to take a break at some point, and it's all so the nearest person gets yelled at or something. But
I think one reason why people are so depressed and apathetic today is because human beings are very spontaneous creatures. Our spirit is a spontaneous flow, and if you can prevent people from creating and destroying spontaneously, as modern day society is built to prevent. Like, for example, let's say you had a long day at work and you suddenly have a break and you decide to drum on some drums in the middle of the streets. You can't do that because you have to have permission to do it. And I mean, if you can't even play drums spontaneously on the streets anymore, you need the permission for that. Then no wonder people are only looking at the TV and only doing it's not because I don't think it's because people want to do this, that they want to spend 8 hours a day watching TV. It's that people somehow know deep inside that that's the only thing they're allowed to do, and so that's why they do it in a way. What do you think about that?
Well, that's some of things too, is that people are all, well, what will the neighbors think? Even when you have so much, even when you have a property big enough that you can literally find a place that you actually can hide from your neighbors. Your neighbors. It's like people who like me who sometimes do an outside ritual. The neighbors are going to see you go walking out there. What's this dude coming out there?
Call the psychiatric hospital. It's a crazy guy out here. oh, you're suffering from schizotypal personality disorder because you're doing rituals outside. You believe in ghosts. Well, you believe in a talking snake in a Garden of Eden. That's not psychiatric. But if I talk to ghosts, then I'm crazy, right? It's like a double standard. Like it's okay to believe in a magical being in the sky.
Videos is probably the thing that people most think that think this dude's crazy for, but you know. So have you ever had a what you would call a relationship with any entity that's not physically incarnated? You say ghost, or or whatever.
Thank you. I love that question very much. As you and I both know, I've been accused in the past of not having that so much. People have been saying, why don't you connect with the gods, instead of just pointing out all the endless contradictions that exist in our occult beliefs. Why don't you just ask the gods themselves? And I reply, if you have talked to the gods, how come the gods have given you so many contradictory messages if they are to be trusted in the first place? So I'm more like a person that if you let's say these gods want something from you, they want to take something from you, like they want to destroy a part of your mind or a part of your soul, and the only way they can do that is for you to give them permission to enter your consciousness. We live in a free will universe. So if you, let's say you trust the wrong god, then that can give you scars for life. And so why would you want to risk doing that? Why would you risk being scarred in your soul for life, contacting a being that maybe is looking out for your destruction rather for your so I think that many of these beings, it's like the Bible, Christianity. They say, well, you have to ask Jesus into your heart. You have to contact Jesus before you can understand the contradictions in the Bible. But I say, well, if something is suspicious, if something has so many contradictions, it's a suspicious thing, then it would not be so wise contacting the author of the suspicious thing, because it could scar you for life. So, yeah, what do you think?
Well, the idea that, I mean, even if you put it in the no Atman sort of way of the Buddhists, yourself, that's not the Atman. That's because the Atman means the mind, the mind substrate or something. You can say the psychiatric ground, basically. But it's not your diagram. It's like the blank screen, but it's still. But anyways, even if you say that, okay, if you want this spiritual relationship with God or some entity that you're treating as a god, you don't want to just sell your soul as part of it. You can still have that relationship without selling your soul, and you sort of not quite on the same thing, but look at how people usually use the Ouija board. Usually people use Ouija board and stuff like this in a way of they're going to worship whatever to let it do whatever through them that they want. And it's like, sometimes there's some really messed up stuff that happens around some of these things.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly what I mean.
They just surrendered themselves to do whatever.
Yeah. Like once you allow one of, let's say you invoke Zozo, for example, from the Ouija board, and I mean, maybe you want to obtain wisdom or knowledge or some gnosis doing that, but once you've allowed the being in, you don't know how it's going to affect you in the future. Maybe every being, every god that you invoke in your, they want something from you. They're going to take something from you. And so it's not wise just trusting a god. You have to research first. I believe that you have to research something first so you know that you can trust it. Once you know you can trust it, then it's wise to allow another being inside of your consciousness. That's my approach to things. Because most of these books, occult books, I mean, if they have thousands of contradictions, why should I trust in them?
Yeah. And as I said in the last thing, if the person, if we know the people who wrote it lied in some of the book, even if there wasn't a contradiction, if they themselves and and or we find out that they lied about who the author was or something like that. So it's like
exactly. Yeah.
I was watching Runyon's thing about the cipher manuscript and talking about other stuff. It's like, yeah, we know that Moses couldn't have written some of the stuff that's actually said. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Oh, Moses is talking about long after the death of Moses. That actually, this isn't quite how it goes. And then Moses, and nobody after Moses ever wrote. Wait a second. You're talking about what happened after Moses. Moses didn't write this. Daniel. It turns out Daniel is an entity. Is an entity you hear in the Prince Akkad or something like that legend from 1,000 years before this biblical Daniel was. So they just usurped other stories and rewrote them. And so if you know that the Daniel was already not even not even out of the range of knowing what he had to say, 1,000 years before the book of Daniel was a rewrite of that sort of train of legend. How can you trust this stuff?
Yeah, I mean,
and it's like, I'm in an area. The Baha'i movement basically was a bunch of depressed a depressed Muslim who was defeated and decided to form his own religion. That's basically what happened, really. But they edited the Baha'i text to hide false prophecies that were made that have been proven wrong. So since the 50s, there's been some editing done because they realized that these prophecies didn't come true that they thought were going to come true.
Okay. I don't know so much about Baha'i, but I do know that Bible is a very suspicious book. The reason I'm not a Christian is because, to me, the Bible is the most suspicious books of all, because how can a book get more suspicious? And so, and if people say, you can't understand the Bible unless you ask Jesus into your heart first. Because if you invite Jesus into your soul, then he will give you the Holy Spirit, and then you will be able to understand the Bible. But that's a wrong approach, because you have to first trust in him and allow him inside of you before you can understand. But then it might be already too late. Maybe he scarred you for life. Maybe, he scarred me for life.
It's like what happens with a particular New Age cult that I thought was sort of, how do I respond to I can respond to basically everything New Age at once through talking about this. So that's the group I decided to research. I never said I worship their guru or anything like that, but people just, he shows up to talk about dreams and stuff like this. So, so they just thought, nobody suspected anything, and I'm sure some people still don't. I didn't feel like I had to lie, and you don't even have to lie in initiations. But they want you, just like every other living master group, wants you to accept this idea that, that there has to, that's how it has to work, is that this master, you have to let him in, and you're not going to have the experiences, and you probably won't have the experiences that you're looking for just because you let this guy in, but you can't admit that. And you spend 5 years in the group, like some people do, and I'm not even remembering my dreams anymore. What happened? Maybe you're just trying to do spiritual exercises in your spare time. Maybe just cut it back to just when you're going to bed. It's like, that's not the answer. That's not why it's not working, but that's what they're told. And,
let me give you an analogy to make my point. I usually like to make my points with analogies, but this is a great analogy of Christianity. Like they say, let's say you are looking at a mouse trap. You're looking at a mouse trap, and there's a cheese there. That's like heaven. The cheese represents heaven, and the mouse trap, is the Bible. And so you're looking at this mouse trap, and they say to you, well, you just have to have faith and take the cheese from the mouse trap and eat it. And so you You have to put your hand there first. Only then will you know if the mousetrap is active or not active. But you're taking a risk there, because you might lose your hand forever. You know, that's
Well,
kind of how what they, you know.
one
The
of the
same thing, right?
interesting things is that, as opposed to like
Yeah.
even well, definitely you don't find in the Quran and a lot of places in Buddhism and various other things, they actually call you to think and consider this evidence is why and stuff like this. The Bible doesn't have any of those arguments. It's like they left that stuff out on purpose. The idea that if you want to believe what you don't know about, here's some stuff that you do believe about, and here's you should think about. Literally calling you, hey, consider the following. You don't. I don't remember really I've read the Bible 21 times when I was younger and all that, and I've studied it since. But I don't really, nothing really sticks out like that. That they want you to philosophize. There's condemnation of philosophizing in Pauline Christianity, but there's not any commit. I mean, it literally tells you not to be a philosopher, but it's okay if you're a Christian philosopher.
I can give another analogy to make the point further. Like, one thing I think is strange with these human beings, these inferior creatures we call humans, or is like, when it comes to a human being, like, let's say, you see a psychopath or somebody with psychopathic traits, and you're not going to allow him into your home. Let's say you meet a psychopath and he says, I will treat you well. If you just take me home to your place, I will treat you like a queen. And you've seen that he's been lying, he's been not making sense, he's been sending double messages, all kind of thing. But when it comes to the Bible and religion, people are not applying the same law. Like, if something is, contradictive and, suspicious, you're gonna allow it in. You have to first, the best thing would be to say to the psychopath, you go home and I go home to my place. Let's talk on the phone, and let's.
People are more critical. A lot of people are more critical with mere entertainment than they are with you can't criticize. They'll criticize a movie before they criticize the same issue that they'd probably notice in the Bible. And. Yeah, but the thing about it, nowadays, people, there's I could actually, I'm not going to live on this, but I could actually prove a particular person. Actually, maybe I don't have proof anymore. I don't know. But this person was bragging about being a malignant narcissist. It's like, I'm an inverted malignant narcissist, and actually bragging about it.
Yeah.
And
but but wait a minute. You have to allow him into your home first. Otherwise, you have to have faith and allow him into your home before you can know anything about him. You can't just look at his behavior, how he's been behaving. You have to allow him into your home first. Then you can know that he is the Son of God.
Now, I
That's
understand.
kind of a stupid logic to use.
It's like in this world. Look at how it's been to the point. Yes, there's been mistreatment of certain groups and all that other stuff. But let's not pretend here. It's like, once you witness, it's not prejudiced if you're saying this because of this behavior. I'm not saying because he's black or Asian or white or whatever.
Exactly.
I'm saying it's because of the behavior I witnessed. And, like, for example, I support the death penalty. Just because it's going to go after certain colors and certain sexual orientations or whatnot more, doesn't mean that we shouldn't be that rapists and child molesters and murderers and stuff should just be left alone because it's more from certain groups. But I'll get along with people from those groups that are just just fine. It's like, you know, I've had friends of all colors and stuff like this, but it's you know, it's certain, but certain behaviors, no. If somebody's going to memorize more music of whatever, it doesn't matter whether it's country or rap or whatnot, and they can't count their change in their wallet. Okay, but they've memorized all sorts of music. You know, it doesn't matter what color they are. I'm not going to think highly of that.
So religions basically tell you to trust in something suspicious before you can understand that which is suspicious, if you know what I mean. So they say before you can understand this suspicious thing, you have to first trust in this suspicious thing by allowing Jesus into your heart. And then he is going to reveal that maybe it's too late once you allow him into your heart. Maybe then he will scar you for life. And so this is kind of the same thing that applies to the cult with Satan, Lucifer. They say, well, you have to allow Satan, Lucifer, into your heart first. You have to contact him first before you can understand the thing is, how do you know that once you contact Satan that he isn't going to scar you? Because we live in a free will universe, and once you allow something in, you have given that thing permission to alter your consciousness permanently, or to alter your mind, or to alter your body permanently. So I think that before you contact Satan, you should study first. Yeah.
Or at least not give over total control of whatever to do whatever it wants to, you know. But look at how many New Age cults, how many whatever, they think that the demons or the angels or whoever it is, they have to torture them in order to get them to where they're at. It's like it's like I was raised in a church, and whether or not if Joseph Smith really had this experience, he was tortured 4 years in a row psychologically, supposedly, by this entity, and then it's like, I'm going to show you these things when you scry, but you're not ready for it yet. I have to shock you and stuff for
exactly.
You know, if that aspect of it's true, he shouldn't have trusted these things in the first place. Same thing with this garbage of everyone's wrong and you're going to be right. A lot of these sectarian prophet figures, that's exactly what happened. Whether you're talking about Crowley or whatnot, it's like accepting the good and truth in all paths. That's one thing. Or saying that things have been changed and maybe other paths have problems, but acting like you're wrong and all the rituals and all the strictures, they just have no value anymore. Maybe they're corrupt, but acting it's taking it too far.
Yeah.
And if anything comes to a person like that, they should know right away. No. I don't care about your book. I'm not accepting your book that you're going to teach me or whatever as authoritative. I'm not going to trust the.
I mean, if you think about Christianity,
words that's come through, it's like I recorded it, but it wasn't like I was going to rush out and put all my faith in it and act out every verbatim and that sort of thing. It's like some of these it's like I got, I have hundreds of chants regarding demons, but am I going to use it whatever intention? No, I'm one, I put my own intention on it in the first place. It turns out to be like jumps of meaning, basically. But a lot of these people with their incantations, they just, they're just very devoutly worship whatever in words they don't understand. And they sometimes these things, it turns out they mean something, and it's actually humiliating to the person who's doing it about how much of a piece of garbage they are, that sort of thing.
Yeah, like, most people don't realize this, but if you really, really think about it, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, all these Abrahamic religions, they have something big in common with the occult, which people have not noticed yet. And the big thing they have in common is the approach that they both have for salvation. Like Christianity's, criteria for salvation, if you really think about it, is you need to put your faith and trust in the most suspicious thing that is conceivable, which is the Bible.
Well,
and not only that, but they also use fear of that.
Well, they take the thing that's probably the most unbelievable in the Bible. I mean, even the fact that you're saying, I will be dead for 3 days and less than 48 hours later, I'm alive. Wait, how is that fulfilling the prophecy? Just trust me. Just trust me. If you're dead right before sunset on Friday and you wake up on Sunday morning that you're dead for 3 days, that sounds like the greatest miracle of the Bible of all.
Let me ask you another question. Why did it, if we are supposed to blindly trust Jesus, what is the point of having a Bible in the first place? What is the point of writing something about him in the first place? Like, why did they even write something about him?
It's like
we're just going from,
Well, that's the funny thing. They wrote not only were there different views ranging from he's just a prophet figure to 7 different ways of looking at him as some sort of divinity or something, but you also have, there's 4 canonical gospels, but not only are there all those versions of those canonical gospels, but if you look at it, you also have something like 76 or so. I think it's more than 6 other gospels that they didn't include. So what is the whole thing? It's like I said in my 888 video. Jesus is a form. It's not a name. It's like, oh, thou. And probably they picked the number 888, just like 666 and all that other stuff. They probably picked it because it's a number as well. So you're looking at something that it's an egregor. It's staring them right in the face. It's not even the name of a real entity, but it's something that they came up with to give their priesthood power. Just like modern magicians that make up names of, again, or something like that. But just because you make up a name doesn't mean that you actually know the name of an angel or whatever.
Yeah. Like, it says poor connection. Wait, I'm just gonna see how much Wi-Fi I got left. But you continue talking. Oh shit.
Like you can train people to think that they have experiences, and it's like you tell people you're going to remember a past life here, and then if you dream in that subject, you really remembered a past life. And have you had anything? Now, I've never seen it as necessary, but have you ever had an experience that you would say would be a past life recall?
If I have, the only thing I can say is that I contacted a YouTube tarot reader once. She could read past lives. Her name was Sons 916 or something. I remember. I don't know if he's still there, but I paid her like $100 to make a past life reading once, and I got a refund. And the reason for the refund was because she said that I was not human. I was an alien, and this is very uncommon. So she said she couldn't do a Akashic reading on me. Because I'm an alien and she couldn't read me, so she gave me the money back. So that's the only thing I can say about that.
Wasn't Mr. Alien one of the names you had of one of your channels at some point?
Yeah! How did you know that? You're very observant, I must say. Because I had that channel for like 2 days or something. Like, are you that observant? You must be very observant, I must say.
Well, one of the issues is that sometimes you would delay. Sometimes I'm like, okay, when I get back, I'm going to watch in an hour or two. I'm going to watch this video, and then you'd have the video deleted. That was always a challenge. I never knew if I set out, okay, of this I'm going to watch this video, and if one of them was yours, I didn't know that I was going to be able to see it later.
Yeah. Well, I actually removed a YouTube channel which had like almost 3,000 subscribers. But that shows, that I'm very humble in a way, because I mean, that is the greatest proof that I don't care about subscribers. If I could just remove a channel that is so successful, I mean, that is to me the best sign that I don't really care about subscribers. I just care about being authentic. And the reason I removed my
Yeah.
YouTube channel was
If you
because
thought you're wrong, it's like
people didn't
how
appreciate my authenticity.
it's
So,
about the same with Protestants and Catholics and Orthodox, is
yeah,
that they're
yeah.
about a third of their priests aren't even Christian, but they make their ministry school or priest training or whatever they call it, and they realize Christianity is wrong. But it's like, okay, I got a profession, 30,000 or so a year, and most people aren't making that, so I'm going to keep this. And
Yeah. I'm like the opposite.
and of those who do believe, they don't believe strong enough in the ethics or whatnot. It's like, how many adulterous preachers have to come forward for people to realize, wait a second, they're only set. The Bible has too many death penalties. I'm going to point that straight out. Is the Bible has too many death penalties. But why are they railing on the gays when they're adulterers? The Bible says to kill you too. Thank you very much, Mr.
Good one.
But but yeah, I was, and it used to be here down. There's some racist Bible, and some of that's been used to say some stuff, and it's like some churches.
Have there been like racist Nazi Bibles in your opinion? Like, Hitler is the guy you are never supposed to speak
Hitler
about, but I mean
in a way, I'm not supporting that sort of again, racism and nationalism. I'm not saying that. No blood and soil here. But I think that but he kicked off the book of Esther. It makes no mention of God. Here's some woman trying to sleep her way to the top just because she succeeded and the other ones didn't. Forget the fact that Mordecai is Marduk lives. Marduk
exactly.
lives. Esther is Ishtar. Thank you very much. It's an
very interesting. I've actually done some research on that myself.
But aside from any of those issues, it's an amoral book that makes no mention. It's not really it's just a nationalistic. Do whatever it takes to get to the top. Do whatever it takes for your nation. Be overly suspicious of people. Have people killed. So Hitler excluded this from the Bibles that were being printed. Hitler was Christian. People need to stop pretending he wasn't Christian. Going to a church with the swastika was on the church that he went to. The swastika and all sorts of stuff. A lot more buried than people think. It's like the Christians didn't even have any symbols of their own. Now, the Confederate.
I don't call it the swastika. I call it the swazafix. I call it the swazafix.
But
not swastika, but swazafix.
Christianity just renamed things. They had real people involved in their movement, but they even renamed supposed gods of other cultures and said, "Oh, they're a saint now." It's Bridget, and Saint Bridget. Same story. It's a saint now. It's not a. So yeah, it's but they all. Something that, what?
I watched some videos on some rabbis on YouTube. One interesting one where they speak about Amalek. How Nazism was biblically the biblical origin of Nazism, and they mentioned Jacob and they were two brothers, and they had a father, and one was supposed to get the blessing, and the other one stole the blessing. Are you familiar with that story? Or?
Yeah, the Jacob and Esau thing, the rightful heir.
Yeah.
I kind of tricked out the other, but really the biblical law. It's interesting that the Ishmaelites, according to the regular biblical law, have twice the inheritance of the Israelites if you believe, even if you forget the fact that genetics is proved. Like, for example, the Jews are 95% not Semitic at all. I'm not even talking about descending from someone.
What?
2000.
Really? Is that so?
But the fact is that according to the biblical law, who wins? The people on the West Bank. Who has more favor? The Ishmaelites over the people of Jacob because of this eldest son stuff.
Exactly. I read that too. Yeah.
To their own law, but they say because of one mention of some trickery that counts forever, and that's again the thing too.
Exactly.
Zionism is supported by one verse. Biblical Zionism is about setting a good example. It's not blood and soil. In the book of Isaiah, it says that Jerusalem doesn't have to be. Jerusalem does not have to be part of Zion. Jerusalem, if Jerusalem doesn't have to be a part of Zion, and that's supposed to be the city, that's proof right there that this, because Sion means setting a good. It's basically setting a good example. Either it was a road sign that taught you something or whatnot, so you're an example to these atheists and other people. That's
Mount
what
Zion.
it's about. But they've made
Mount Zion, for example.
They've made it about a tribe. They made it about a tribe, and that's not almost entirely. Again, every other religion is disproven by its own book. And of course, I'm more familiar with what I grew up with because I did want to go on a mission. I did want to convert people to Christ and all that stuff, but the Bible convinced me otherwise. More than anything else, the Bible is what convinced me otherwise. And people just think, "Oh, just read the Gospel of John again. You'll be Christian again. Don't worry." It's like I'll copy out a book of the Bible by hand and take months doing it, and it will take me further away from what you're talking about, not towards it. I actually posted a video right after that. Is basically how Paul and Jesus were preaching different religions, and the Gospel of John was one of the things that I proved why no one should be Christian. Jesus didn't want Christianity. I forget the title of the series, but I did a little series of 90 verses in the Bible of why Christianity is condemned straight from the Bible. But,
wow, that's what they don't realize. Most of the things that Christianity believe are against the Bible. Well, if the original Bible.
I was saying that Paul. The Pauline, now I'm not saying that the Gospels are the canonical Gospels aren't corrupted by the Christians. What I'm saying is there's plenty left over there, and Pauline side of the Bible, but they I lost you there. Hello.
Hello. I'm here. Did you hear me?
Yeah, my battery was getting too low, so I'm having to hold this plugged in somewhere.
Okay.
The Pauline side of the Bible has a lot of differences, and a lot with you can literally say Jesus taught this. Paul said no. Jesus said Jesus was somebody who rebelled against the priesthood and the state and even the state. And Paul says,
right?
do whatever those in authority want you to do, even if it's wicked, because it's the right thing to do if you're doing it because of those in authority. And it's like, no. Believe whatever they have to say. Jesus was like, no. But I mean, there's a more articulate list and that sort of thing. But it's what I say. There was a person over by Baltimore or something like that I would communicate. Now I didn't go up. I've never been up there in those states, but. One of the things was that he was like a Christian Satanist, and I do sort of understand how there's reasons even in the Bible that would indicate maybe Jesus is closer to being a Satanist than he is being a Christian, because he doesn't ever promote Christianity, and he's against some this professional priesthood and all this other stuff. So that's why, that's part of the reason why I did one of the little series is that I did, including here are books in the Bible and books that have been excluded from the Bible and maybe in different Bibles, and and even looking at the number of books, how can you say this is the word of God and say that, well, God has different versions? Well, which version of the Bible are you going to look at? even in terms of the names of the books. Is there 66 books in English, 100 in English, like some of the earlier Bibles? What about all those books? And that's the funny thing. It's I don't believe, stepping this tribal stuff. Bible even points out, hey, the Persians have a lot of interesting stuff. Maybe you should look at. That's sort of what the message with all these lost books that you're hearing mentioned, because some of them actually exist. And then, but the problem is, the problem the Christians would be is they find out, oh, that's how the Bible was reinvented from what we had, because they wrote versions of what the Persians had to say. So
yeah. So if I ask you a question, what would be, if you would summarize your entire YouTube channel, what is the main goal of your YouTube channel? What's the message?
Well, I have in different ways. The message is,
what is it you're trying to achieve?
One of the messages is behind all the demiurges, they're human agents forming priestcraft, statecraft. There's truth out there, and it's available in different portions.
Okay.
Material culture doesn't matter so much. It's actual principles, whatever.
So you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You believe religions, they have some truth in them.
But it's not like. But the thing is that with pretty much everything, is condemned from their own book, and what are you going to take? So you have to use something else other than picking up a book. It's like one of these movements that's propped up in recent years is this Quran only stuff, and it's like, well, doesn't the Quran kind of refer to you to other stuff? It's like, well, we're not. So even they have to admit that they're supposed to be looking into science and some other stuff, but they're, some of those people aren't. They're just, you see people, read more than one book in your life. But I mean, a lot of people don't read at all, and that's the thing too. But yeah, life's to be observed. When I say experience, I want people who don't believe the same thing about the same thing I'm doing. I want people to have an opportunity to experience through what I'm sharing. If people have an argument with what I have to say, fine. Whether or not I see the reasons for your conclusion or authority or whatever, go ahead. People comment. Now I will, if you say that I should be killed or something like that, I'm probably going to delete your comment. But other than that, people can just, put stuff out there.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean,
but it's like what we people mostly agree on. As far as a life view, people mostly agree. And why should we fight over the fact that we don't agree on everything? It's like nowadays people in their relationships. I mean, find a man and a woman or whatever, and there's going to be some differences. They're not going to be perfectly agreeing on everything, get along with everything. They have to do everything together. It's even a point where they're building toilets that you can sit next to people on the toilet. I thought we got rid of that when we gave up with the Roman Empire and stuff, but they're bringing that back as some sort of romantic thing that you sit back to back on different holes on the same toilet.
Yeah. Like I said, I think, the way I'm seeing Satanism and occultism is, the way I was brought up to see it was that occultism is like a reaction to. But the more I study it, the more it seems that it is not a reaction to Christianity and Islam and these things. It seems to be just another branch of it. And so that's kind of...
I do see it actually going back, way back before anything that you could call. And I also don't think that's, just like I say, a lot of things aren't really the faith of their founder. I don't think Abrahamic religion, true Abrahamic religion ever was. You know, just like I don't think it was a tribe. You know, you actually find that Abraham was like, oh, well, not. I don't just want people to be favored because they're my descendants. I want them to kind of look at my carry on my legacy of good and stuff. But people say no, it's all about referring to Abraham, and it's like that's didn't he say something different? But yeah, you know, that puts it in the tribe thing. But now I was gonna, you know, I have plain flags for this sort of stuff, but let's look at the colors here.
Yeah, they're interesting. I find them interesting, your flags there. Let's talk a bit about them.
I thought this. I saw some guy who needed help. I saw his stand. Every other dude, every guy with a roadside setup to sell flags or something has a secret set of flags, which tend to be full of Nazi and Klan flags and stuff like this. So
terrible Nazi.
I didn't end up with. I thought I saw this Moroccan flag and I thought to myself, this reminds me of these Arthurian legends. Now I don't believe in this, but let me.
King Arthur.
What?
Yeah. I've heard of
just going into the colors, it's like, look at. I mean, okay, these are the traditional Islamic flags. A person doesn't have to identify with that path. Stand that, but what does the green represent in their plain green flag? Their plain green flag represents that you're trying to get back to your nature. You're trying to be at peace with yourself and maybe your surroundings. So that's that sort of thing. That's where the starts. But
that's nature.
The black, so that would be basically what Islam means, and jihad, to give it that word, is striving, not you know. You realize some change has to be made. Sometimes things that you should be doing is difficult. And that's it. It's not a terroristic sort of thing, but they've, you know. Anyways, the black alchemy, the chains, that sort of thing. The white.
What do you?
The self-mastery. What?
What do you think about? I was in an organization called the Summit Lighthouse. They believe basically that Jesus Christ came to teach us Christ consciousness, and the true name of Jehovah is Ahaya Ahaya, which is I am that I am. And Jesus said before Abraham was I am, kind of thing. And so, and they worship the beings called the Elohim, the 7 beings called the Elohim. One is called Elohim.
That stems from the Yazidi, but anyways,
It does?
Yeah, the culture that we call Yazidi, not only does it come back to the ancient, it's not just some text written by some Sufis to represent their movement, which that's what all people look at. They don't look at this 30,000-year-old culture of worshiping these either 6 with with Shaitan at the top, or 7 with Shaitan at the top. And you know,
one thing that is interesting is that Melek Taus has 7 feathers. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
the peacock angel has 7 feathers.
The peacock angel there's a lead peacock angel that that goes back like 10 I think like 11,000 BCE or something like this, and it's and see other representations of the same myth. Now, some cultural things have changed. Obviously, there's translations into Arabic and Kurdish and whatever, but you see some of the very same things, and that's where some of this stuff comes from. But I mean, sort of in a yin yang sort of way. I'm not saying this, you know, because I'm saying that because there's differences, and obviously there's similarities between individuals. But I was just pointing out the whiteness as self-mastery, mastering your position in society, that sort of thing. And honestly, sometimes it's better. Sometimes it's better, whether martyrdom through cost in your own life or actually your life going. Sometimes it's better to die than to live the rest of the people. I'm not saying commit suicide. I'm just saying that it's sometimes better to die than to live as their slave if they're a choice. Just like I've talked to Pakistanis that when the armies go through, they will chain their rather than have their kids reprogrammed
Mm-hmm.
they will risk their kids' life by having their kids chained up, because the armies will kill their kids rather than kidnap them and reprogram them and rape them and all this other stuff. They would rather have their kids die as they were than have them reprogrammed into their slaves. And I totally understand that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think I do too, to a great extent, because I saw a video the other day of his name is called Social Experimentalist. I don't know if you've seen it. Danny Shine.
Yeah, Nargargle was quite obsessed with that channel. And
I remember that. Where is Nargargle now?
He has Grail Gnosticism and Dom 2-3 Healing Temple Mew. Look up Healing Temple Mew and you'll find his. He had a channel before his.
I think I've seen this other channel. It's called Abraxas or something.
No, that's an upload channel.
Okay,
and
that's an upload channel. Okay.
just like it's clear. I'm sharing my comments about Nargargle and other people. I'm not re-uploading their videos, and some people are disappointed about that. But it's my experience and comments of videos that I reshare. I don't.
Nargargle was very similar to you in his approach to the cult. I think you and Nargargle are like brothers. In your approach, because you're both very holistic.
You see the one channel flow into the other. You see how dark his New Age cult got, and then you have the Nargargle Schlod channel, and you see they're pretty smooth flowing in, more or less. He starts having these dark, because the satanic hierarchy that he mentions in the Nargargle channel starts with the Mu, and Mu becomes Mu, Murat, Murataz, Muratazras, and Shaitan, and Seotin. There's two variations of that, but
yeah. Like I loved these videos. You had one video where he spoke about this cult of Cthulhu thing. He said
at least before his channel was gone. That's one of the
Vengus Satanis. Yeah, Vengus Satanis. He spoke about Vengus Satanis trying to make Cthulhu into some kind of.
His book's a little bit less crazy than it's not as crazy as his channel. It's actually because he'll get screaming and all sorts of stuff on his channel. That's why his channel is gone.
I'm a cop my fucking dick off. I'm a cop my fucking dick off. Have you seen that one?
And I was trying to.
I actually did a song about one of his videos. Have you seen that? I did a song. It's called "I'm a Reptile Alien." I took his video, "I'm a Reptile Alien," and I did a song about it.
Well, the one year,
I sent it to Nagago.
The 1 year following the getting into the whole Temple of Blood sort of thing and going into that area, that's the thing. I can respond to an area without necessarily saying I'm going to worship this, that, and the other. I'm going to cosmologically represent it and be myself and whatever. But so you can mention beings in mythology without worshiping them. That's the thing. But one of the I changed. The Temple of Blood has this practice that for 88 days you beat yourself 88 times or something. And
beat yourself.
I am Noctulian. I'm not a human being, so I didn't do it in an abusive way. I like I
What's the name of the god they beat themselves to? What was the name again?
Adazov?
They had these women. What is it?
They have a female. They follow
female character.
They follow
beat themselves.
Baphomet's female to them. The entity Baphomet wasn't a female, but I think it's more like a species. That's some of the things too. It's like I think there's species of spirits and stuff out there. But I said I am more than a human being. I'm more than a human being. I tried to say it 88 times. I kind of lost myself in the moment. I'm not sure whether I got the count right, but
I mean, Nagago. But he's still, is he dead or is he still alive? I mean,
that's part of what I thought. He was talking about cancer and stuff, and I was like, Did he just go out in one big flare just so we wouldn't see him waste away, or what happened here?
Yeah.
But it turned out that wasn't quite the
Got
case.
me wondering.
And I mean, I had contacted him other than commenting on his channel, and then there was this gap for like 2-3 months, and I didn't know what was going on, and it turned out. And eventually he's doing his own YouTube channel. I might interview him at some point. He said he's thought about it, but he's busy with his own channel, and he was sort of a lot of us north of the 30th parallel are kind of, winter's not exactly a time for us. It's a great time for me because if it wasn't for family, I would sleep. I'd get all my sleep done at night. I'd wake up, do stuff in the night, whatever. I like winter, but some people.
I love summer. I'm more a summer guy. Sorry.
Well, I'm far enough south that I get burned, even with sunscreen if I'm out long enough. So I'm not. But what?
Like here's a lot of snow. I don't like snow. I like it. I like grass. Yeah.
I don't like the 40-degree rain. The 40-degree rain makes you colder than outside 20 degrees in your jacket is.
You don't mind rain?
Rain I'm generally fine with. I mean, it does limit my activity, but 40
same.
50, 60, 80-degree rain, that's fine. But 40-degree rain.
I mean, chemtrails. Have you noticed that the chemtrails are causing wind 24 hours of the day? Because I'm living in this apartment building complex. I'm a homeless, and I've broken myself into an apartment building complex. And that's where I've been living for 3 months in a row now. But I hear this wind outside, okay? And it's been going on for like 24 hours of the day. I believe that the fucking reptilian government is definitely changing the weather. I mean, they're causing this wind, definitely. What would you say about it?
Well,
you agree?
Well, I think, okay, on one hand, a lot of what we hear of alien abductions is just like some guy gets really drunk and doesn't remember, and he gets sexually abused by his buddies because they were drunk too. And they say, no, we were all probed by aliens. It wasn't, no, that's what happened. And they stick to that story, and there's some of that going on. Or you don't know what weird thing you did when you were drunk trying to light off a firecracker up there or whatnot. Or maybe it was completely consensual. They just, people just don't want to admit to what they do when they're intoxicated sometimes. But it's apparent the government experiments on people. I've been experimented on with medication, and that's part of one of the things I say. It's like I'd rather burn out and fight. I'd rather fight to my death on the street. I'm again not seeking this out, but I'd rather fight to my death on the street than get dragged back into some facility where they experiment on me with drugs. That's I'm dead serious about that point. But the government experiments on the soldiers. If you go to the VA. If you've been in an American Veterans Administration, they have a little sign. Your rights as a patient with other things, you can refuse medication and all that. Not in the VA. If they decide they want to give you a shot, they will sneak up on you and give you the shot. Ask every other vet. They will do stuff to you.
Those medications are not good for our brain.
And there's medications that have been banned to the general public, but they use it on the soldiers. They use it on the vets that come home. And the government, it's like some of these areas, the government has very advanced technology. Now, I'm not saying that there couldn't be some alien out there or something, but the government has very advanced technology, and they experiment chemically on people. If you work at Area 51 or 52 or some of the other ones that have, the VA can't treat you. The VA doesn't have clearance to respond to the chemical and radiation exposure that you went through as you're in your job with the government. That is some some seriously messed up stuff that I wouldn't want to get myself involved in. And I wouldn't be surprised that if some test by spraying LSD on crowds at concerts and stuff like this was, I wouldn't be surprised if there's more of that, not more of that going on, because there is evidence that CIA and stuff did do experiments on people without permission, crowds and stuff. So if they're doing, if there's stuff being put into planes and stuff too, that wouldn't be terribly surprising. There's chemicals, leaking trails, but whether it's specific things that people are doing, some of that's probably true. It's probably not to the extent that some people are saying, but some of that could be true. You see that areas get polluted after certain planes fly over, and you know the plane has been responsible. They start detecting things in the area after there was some sort of thing going on.
I had another question. Have you been in a psychiatric hospital anytime?
I was hoping this one would get through, but yes. They once they found out, this guy has autism, and so they not only did they try to give me a bunch of extra conditions, but they experimented me on drugs to some degree, even to the point of giving me things for conditions they didn't even think I had. They just thought, oh, we have this other medication, let's just try it on him. It's not even for his condition, but let's just try it. It got even worse when you get sent to a facility, but it's like, I never hurt anybody except in self-defense, except for when I was so high on medication that some dudes threatened me. They had attacked me before, and I thought they were. I ended up throwing someone else against a wall. I'm not sure how I did in that state, but because I was like 90-something pounds. But anyway, I did, and it took 5 guard. And then they used it as an excuse to experiment on me again. It's like, don't give me random amphetamine drugs. Thank you very much. But it took some time, and I fought for my rights in that regard. And that and the when you're poor, you can't defend yourself. So I did. They gave me, I spent some time in a prison, and that was that. And things about 3 years of my life was basically more or less destroyed. A lot of my memory and ability as on because of all those experimentations. But I never intended to. I was trained to box by my college coach. One of my grandfathers was for the he coached for the Ducks and the Beavers in Oregon, both those universities, and he taught me how to box because he thought that it was important for me to learn how to defend myself, and I did. But that's it. That's what I used it for. I didn't start fights, but people look, here's some skinny guy, kind of uncoordinated. But when you beat a football player to the point where he has to actually visit the hospital, that's actually what happened. That's the thing. You gotta look at code. A lot of stuff is code. You see these celebrities say pansexual. That means they're not anything. Rape, child molestation, whatever goes their way. That's what they mean by pansexual. They're sexual predators. Whenever you hear people say that, but there was this guy in there for bullying, and I agree, beating people up and all that stuff is not. But it was code. He didn't want us to know that he was in there for rape. His bullying meant he raped some nerd, and I guess that could have been my fate if I didn't wallow. But he wore a metal plate on his face for a little bit for a month or two, and I think that was it. I don't think anybody picked a fight with me after that. It helped before that I swung a chair at somebody, but again, for me, it's only in self-defense. Part of the reason why I was in there in the first place is because I didn't fit in with. I didn't want to do what the popular crowd wanted me to do, and one of
it was the same for me.
They acted like every time that they walked by me alone in a church hall or something, that later they every single time and acted like I tried to kill them or something. It's like, I'm a genius. I know how to make bombs and all sorts of stuff. If I wanted to kill you, you would be dead. Thank you very much. But that argument didn't fly, and he said, she said, and actually, felonies and all that stuff. And it's like, there was no evidence. But I was some poor guy, just some poor dude, couldn't afford a lawyer, Well, I mean, I have the papers. There was actually no physical evidence of anything, but I walked by somebody in a church hall like several times, and no one was there to witness. And I mean, why didn't you tell the first time? If you thought I wanted to kill you or trying to kill you or something, why didn't you tell the first time? Why did you wait for it to be a dozen different instances that you supposedly remember? You know.
Oh shit! What a story! I must. But you coped well with it. I mean, are you still angry or?
Am I still angry? Well, I think that came through. I'm still angry, but that's the thing. Anger is fine, but it's what you do with it. If it comes through my music or my art or whatever, but I don't feel like I have to mistreat people. That's what I say about emotions and sensations and all that. If you enjoyed something, you enjoyed something. If whatever. But it's your deeds and stuff that matters. And if you have a bad past, it's again. It's what you do with what's left of your life, not
exactly.
Now, I'm not saying.
I like that last part.
When
very
people
much,
say this guru has served humanity so well that so what if he raped a couple people? No. Do away with him now, just because of that. Let the scales of karma or whatever deal with him in the afterlife, however, but don't excuse him because of this other stuff. But the rest of your life, we all have the rest of our life to make our own decisions. Governments work the way they do because people are either lazy and don't do anything and just knock it off with this lesser of two evils. It's like, why don't we just vote for Cthulhu right now and get it over with instead of lesser of two evils?
It sounds like me.
But governments requires even the most totalitarian dictator led governments all require a certain amount of the people to either do nothing and a certain amount to support it. So all these things are a collective effort that people just have to. It's like, look at what happened with the TV. It's even to the point where some parts of my country, I don't know about your country, but some parts of if you turn on the TV late at night, there's pornography and even really disgusting pornography at that sometimes. Not my current location, but I've been told other parts of the country. But they used to. It started with Elvis. Elvis shook too much when he danced. I think we noticed.
Elvis was a fucking reptile.
What?
Sure. Anyway,
but
Elvis was a reptile alien.
Things made their way so gradually that now we're just. It's like reality television. I was born in the 80s, so I remember when reality television first became a thing, and it was like, this is trash, and they just figured we can put it on TV, people will watch it. It's cheaper than other shows. We're just good. The game shows are reality television, but the game shows for about 30 years or something, the game shows was it, and then in the 90s, Fanatic and Real World and stuff. Learned that, and Fanatic. That's the thing. Fanatic comes from Phantom, which means they mistake the temple, they mistake the whatever. It's like, I liked Nirvana music, I liked Alice in Chains, and I like Baby, this new band, and Skating Polly and Hands Off Gretel and stuff. But it's like, I don't have to like whether I like the person or not, I don't have to like the person. I like the music, I like the art. I don't have to mimic.
I like that.
Like that.
It's the same with people, Like when we look at people, we look at their behavior, not who they are.
It's like, what does the Bible say about Jesus? Says it's not about calling him Lord, it's about doing the will of the one who sent him. So calling him Lord is nothing. It's what you're doing, taking up your cross,
exactly,
that sort of stuff. So, but they become fanatics and they worship him instead of, this guy had some good ideas, let's go with that. So that's and Fanatic was exactly about that. People obsessed with
people are the same in society. Like people treat you. I've done a lot of videos on my YouTube channel now, the Fuck You channel. I speak a lot about how society is primed to value us based on demographics. Like, we get not for who we are, but we get attention for our demographics. Like, if a child says something.
One of the things that was going away, it's like my generation, the thing for my generation, my whole life, back in the 80s, it used to, it's all switched over. The civil rights happened a generation previous to that. But my generation switched to the point where white and black culture, Hispanic culture, it more or less went away. You could be whatever. You could listen to rap. You could say something in Spanish or slang or whatever the case. Or West Anglican curmudgeon. It didn't matter what color you were. You could take part in whatever culture. And they kind of switched away. It's like it was the point where blacks were valuable in society for something other than being a basketball star or an entertainer. And then they're stepping away from that, acting like cultural appropriation and all that. If something's valuable in the culture, take it on, whatever. But it was this point where, again, people weren't in all these categories, and now they're putting everybody back in all these categories to the point of inventing categories just so somebody can say there's something. There was a guy in Old who said, you think the transsexual thing's bad enough. One of the things to look at is there's people who think they're animals. Humans are animals. You know what I mean? They think they're
like
animals.
You right now with your dragon code, you think you're a dragon.
Shamanism is a changing of a state of consciousness, and in shamanism, maybe you do put on a dragon and you take on this role and stuff, but you realize when it's over with that you're not the dragon.
Exactly. Yeah, you can.
In Oregon, it's one of the states in the United States. If you're not familiar with all the state names, but I'm talking like you probably are. So if I've missed you with some of that, there's one dude thinks he's a goat. He's had some cosmetic surgery to have horns implanted and all sorts of tattoos and stuff. But
or Tiamat. Have you seen Tiamat?
What?
There's this woman called Tiamat. She has tattooed herself into a dragon. Have you seen her? That's kind of interesting.
I went to an Ordo Templi Orientis lodge, and one of the things there was this. So they had this dance of the seven veil. I didn't quite know what was going to go on there, and it's like I identify and witness and work with the energy of whatever. Not that I have to worship whatever, but what I'm saying, there was this dance of the seven veils, and when it was over with, I thought for a second, she's wearing panties, blasphemy. But I didn't say it out loud. If I was there was one guy who showed up to one of those ceremonies, and he wandered up to the altar in the middle of it to this to the naked woman up there, and I was like, oh no, but okay, that's part of the reason why. But anyways, my experience with medication has scared me away from experimenting with drugs. I'll get into state without drugs, but anyway, she was so tattooed that it looked like she had underarm. It just So, but that was the first thought, was that I thought she was supposed to be getting naked. What's going on here? But so have you experienced prophecy?
If I have experienced prophecy, self-fulfilled ones, yeah. If that's what you're referring to.
Well,
well,
I could say, to bring up something that people particularly have issue with, the Book of Revelations. If again, the apocalyptic literature, it's not inspired, it's not revealed, whatever. Sometimes dreams and stuff are parts of these things, but the Book of Revelation, the initial version, before it became a Christian text, the guy basically said, "Hey, of course, if he stormed the he wrote this text." Basically what he was going to do, and he stormed the temple, and the Romans killed him next to two of his buddies. So that self-prophecy, there's going to be two witnesses to me. Yeah, your two died next to you in the temple when the Roman legions saw what you did and got the temple under control. That's literally what happened. And the Romans weren't sitting around; they killed a whole village after that incident. They said, "This is where this guy's from." They could have stopped him, but they didn't. It got this bad. So they killed everyone. That's the real slaughter of the innocent story, by the way, is that the Romans killed off a village, basically.
Oh, interesting.
And
I
so
mean,
there's been a couple things in my life. It's like I had a dream about somebody, and I didn't know they had a white car and all that stuff, and more or less came true, but it's like a lot of prophecy is just like deja vu. If you've had deja vu, that
yeah.
in your sleep, your mind goes over possibilities, and people who remember their dreams are going to remember stuff that seems like a prophecy, but a lot of it is just your brain reworking possibilities, and you remember possibilities. And deja vu is when it happens in an unconscious sort of way. And that's also why it's important. Just don't watch. It's like there was somebody with a don't just watch or listen to anything before going to sleep. You want to make your going to sleep period a lot more valuable. Just don't conk out after watching some TV. Do something, at least something in between that and the sleep. But there was someone if phones in the back pockets and all that stuff. This person accidentally dialed me, and there was this screaming sort of song. It's like, too messed up to carry on, broken to my rotten soul, all that sort of stuff. And no wonder why they have anxiety if they're listening to this stuff really loud before bedtime. But because it just goes through their thing. So, how?
Yeah, shoot another question. Yeah, go on.
Oh, I thought you had a question.
Oh, no. I said you go on with the question.
Well, yeah, I don't know if you have any dreams or something as part of your new content. I haven't made my way. You've done a lot. It's good for people to do a lot. They can do a lot. But you shared some dreams in the past. The nightmares. How say people should deal with?
You read my mind right now, because I wanted to speak about this, but I didn't speak about it. But you read my mind. You know I want to speak about this. Yeah. So back in the days, like my first 10 years in life, I had from the age of 0 to the age of maybe 12, 13. That's when I had my best dreams. Like every night I dreamed about, flying. I dreamed about, even if you take the best DMT experiences that people have had, times 1,000 in bliss and ecstasy and magic and wonder. Every night I had these magical trips to worlds beyond the 10th dimension every night. So, but then when I let's see, maybe I had these dreams until the age of maybe about 18 or 19. That's when I came into. Before that, I was told I'm gonna burn in hell for eternity if I don't believe in Jesus, and so I wanted to know does this hell exist. So it was a fear. It was a fight and flight mechanism that made me search. This was the trigger for my spiritual search, you could say.
Well,
And so
for me, after
So I came into contact with a homepage called AskRealJesus.com, and the second homepage was Summit Lighthouse. So I read their material, and I was very happy and shocked to realize that there is no hell, that Jesus was an ascended master, and that he came to show us Christ consciousness. So I joined the organization because now I believe that Jesus, it was Satan who rewrote the Bible and all that. So I believed in this. So I started to pray to Archangel Michael for like 2-3 years in a row. I did a prayer to Michael Archangel. I was praying this send me blue lightning from Archangel Michael to protect me from the forces of Antichrist. And so I was involved in this, and I think this was the trigger to why my dreams were destroyed. I think these inorganic archons, these Elohim forces, they destroyed my connection to my soul. So now I no longer have lucid dreams at night. I can no longer fly at night. So I believe that that was a trigger. Just like I said, with this, you can be scarred for life, right? And I was scarred for life. Archangel Michael scarred me for life. He disconnected me from my dreams.
Well,
That's why I have so much anger towards Jesus and Satan. And yeah, go
on. I do believe there's repentance or making up for stuff, but it's like,
yeah,
your body and your mind, once it's put through stuff, your vessel's kind of, you can't expect to get that back. That's and people fight it. That's, the drug addiction thing. People have one really good experience, but they can't get back there because they damage their brain and can't get back there.
yeah.
Or they can't, as with with the lower doses anymore.
Yeah.
But it's, you don't say, oh, I'm just going to put myself to whatever danger and I just can just repent or something. Throw up the sign of the eldest elder and the horrors that I saw when calling up the Lovecraftian entities, that they're just going to go away. It's like, they know the trick. They know the trick. It doesn't work. They know you don't mean it. Even if that was the case, they know you don't mean it. Don't expect them to just, all those entities. I think if they have, if the jinn, as you, the fire beings, as jinn, fairy, asuras, whatever you want to call them, it's the same thing. In the Western culture, we've all said angel, like it's all the same thing. It's not. It's like there's light beings and fire beings, whatever. But the jinn that the Yezidi want to become merged with, it's like they have choices too. What if this being that they're trying to call up or connect with doesn't want to be a part of their life? That people think that if they just, it's like Goetia. It's like, I'm such a good Christian, the spirits must obey me because I've prayed to Jesus in the particular fashion that the book says. And no, it's not going to work like that. If they actually do show up, they have their choices too. And it's like every other exorcism isn't really, it's more about getting you connected to one cult versus another cult.
Yeah.
It's not about banishing these things from your life. It's about just changing those, archonic influences, as people would call them.
One thing I'm noticing right now with me it's a very interesting observation I did in myself right now. Like, I'm noticing, like, when I'm speaking about these things with you right now, I'm feeling like frozen emotions are coming out from the surface. It's like I feel like frozen emotions, especially sadness and anger, and these things, they come up in the surface when I'm sharing these things with you. I don't know what kind of magic you're doing, but it's an interesting observation nonetheless. I mean,
well, Aleister Crowley's definition of magic is willful changes of consciousness. I would certainly hope that there's some sort of change in consciousness or feeling or something that I would provoke at times. But me, my nightmares went away. I had nightmares when I was a kid, and even got up and walked around, sort of nightmares. And one of the things, once I abandoned Christianity and this reliance on other male, Jesus is portrayed as a male and all that. Once I abandoned this, having an intercessor to do my spiritual needs, and tried to have some spiritual remembrance or contemplation going to sleep, my nightmares stopped. I've never had a thing. I mean, my regular type of nightmares.
Do you have good dreams?
What?
Do you have good dreams at night? Lucid dreams?
I do have flashbacks from being attacked sometimes, but other than that, my sort of nightmares that I had as a kid, or even as a teenager, stopped dead on when I kind of But I have some good dreams. Some of them I don't quite understand. Sharing some of my chants and stuff, I do that. I share some of my dreams, but some of some stuff, just like I talk about the state of absolute righteousness, the state of undefiled knowledge. That's sort of what you've conveyed in a way in terms of just the beyond the ordinary society sort of, you're just in the moment, whatever. I mean that in an alignment with the ultimate source, that sort of stuff. But
one thing I'm noticing within myself, I don't know what it is, but I've been a Satanist and I left, but sometimes I feel, in my just above my navel, I can feel sometimes a very how do I explain the feeling? It's like I'm being drained from there. It's like a very painful sensation that I can feel just above my navel. And this comes and goes. Like suddenly I don't feel it. And then after like 30 minutes, it's like very powerfully, I feel like a very uncomfortable sensation above my navel. And I don't know what this is, but maybe you have some ideas what this can be. Is this a spiritual attack or?
Well, as I said with the psychosomatic thing, there are entities that could refer to that. So if there's things, it's like, okay,
you think like I'm being spiritually attacked?
Like positivity for its own sense, or just to be positive, or negative just to be negative. I'm not supportive of that, but certainly part of the satanic spirit, as you would call it. I mean,
yeah,
the motivation or whatever, not necessarily that there's an actual spirit, although there could be, but is this rebellion just to rebel? And but there's plenty of causes to rebel. There's plenty of things to change in oneself or society or whatnot, or just to oppose. Just think to yourself, oh yeah, no, I'm not supportive of that at all, because that's often all you can do, and all you really should do with a lot of stuff is that it's just too much energy to go around all the time and just I just hate these worthless human beings and look at that. No.
Thanks, I really appreciate it.
But
I appreciate your honest evaluation. Like, do you think this
thing is, our emotions either can be transformed or they can be used to transform. So,
but I have something good, something positive to say about this. Is that as I told you, for 1 month now I've been eating these herbs and this. I have chaga, I have all these things. These things have really helped free my stuck emotions. I'm feeling, how I'm more easily connected to my true emotions now. It's so important what we eat. Herbs, the power of herbs. Like, herbs are really, really good for healing our consciousness. I'm a living testimony of that,
people don't understand hedonism or its branch, Epicureanism. You're actually considering the consequences, and Epicureanism is very specifically the pleasure and pain of it all. And people think, if I just do whatever, if I eat whatever or ingest or inject or smoke, whatever people allow me, whatever I feel like, that's not quite. And then you realize that life is so much more sensual if you just eat whole foods and eat a variety of stuff. And you don't have to be vegetarian, but not eating 4 pounds of meat in a week is probably a good idea. Thinking of what I think specifically. I was at a dinner at the start of the month, and I very specifically asked for the meat that wasn't killed, what I'd call American style, basically old-fashioned, sort of minimize the fear of the animal, that sort of stuff. So I know a guy, and I asked him, and he put out some food that I can eat at the potluck, and it doesn't. You don't feel the fear. I don't want to feel the fear and the sickness and all sorts of. You can sometimes feel some of that stuff that comes through the animals. Yeah. So, and it's higher risk. It's like every other big virus that's came through in this age. It's because people are eating animals, garbage dispensers, and
Yeah.
the big bubonic plague again. If people distance themselves from the rats and stuff, actually that
Yeah.
was preventable. But I mean, pigs, animals that eat other animals, and all that. Probably
Yeah.
avoid eating that stuff, and you're probably in good. Don't some animal. I don't want to be part of some animal. I wouldn't want to be up on. It's like pigs don't have to
Yeah.
be dirty. They can be kept in little cages where they never touch the ground and
Like
dozed off.
my stance on that is, I think that animals should live a good life, and when
Yeah.
they die a natural death, then you can eat them. I think that was the case like back in the days. Like, let the animal live its life, and then once it dies naturally, you can eat
So,
it. It
some of what you
it's
see,
just the pain that I'm against.
some of what you see, but some of what's behind me, some of what's in my main the temple room. It's
Mm,
that some of the stuff says that explicitly is that it's not it's that
yeah,
the way the overgrazing, the drugging of the animals just to keep them alive. Any
yeah,
of these animals being treated this way are off the list for eating. Um,
yeah.
and that's how I live my life, and it just feels different to eat that meat, and it feels different not to feel like I have to eat meat every day. Um,
Yeah.
but
Are you vegetarian or?
no, as I said earlier this month, there's a guy I know, and I had him point out to me which of the I don't eat any. Normally, I don't eat anything with a meat product, but I make
Hmm.
exception for animals that have been slaughtered and raised right, and some other conditions. But yeah,
Mhm.
so
I think we are this. I think we humans are disconnected from nature very much, because I think all of these
look at our
herbs
back
and
teeth. Our
greens.
back teeth. Look at all these teeth. They're designed to eat
Yeah,
plants. So
yeah,
we can survive eating
yeah,
meat and stuff, but it's just not. We can't eat it. We shouldn't be eating it all the time. We can eat
yeah.
more fish than animals, but that's yeah. Um,
Hmm.
so I mean, our teeth. You look at our back teeth; those 5Y molars. They're designed to eat animals that have them, other than humans. Just like
Mm.
humans, number two food,
Hmm.
the top two foods. You know what the top two foods that humans eat in this world?
Nope.
Mangoes and bananas.
I
And
love mangoes. Mangoes are my favorite.
the
I
same
really love mangoes.
the same prime.
Mangoes and papaya. Those are my two favorite fruits. What are you two? Do you have any favorite fruits? The
I a lot of fruit. I I sometimes
two favorite.
it depends on on sale what I actually get. I'm trying to build my way up in terms of berries on this property. Um,
Blueberries is nice.
I used to go out and collect anywhere from
Yeah.
40 to 120 pounds of blackberries a year. I would
I love blackberries.
containers to seal up and go collect them.
Yeah.
Um, People freak out. Some parks have like
Mhm.
pear trees and stuff like this that you can actually, uh,
Yeah.
but people don't know what food is if it's not
Oh.
it's separated from the tree or the bush or something. Oh, that's okay. You can eat
Mm-mm.
that. If it's not,
Yeah.
they're like, no, are you eating berry? You eating pears in the park? It's like, yeah, blackberries.
Hmm.
But some of these people literally will buy blackberries from the store, but
Yeah.
out in the woods, no, don't eat those ones out in the woods.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, I mean, like I said before, the most powerful solutions are the most simple solutions. And sometimes it can be as simple as just going buy some chaga mushrooms, go buy some spirulina, which contains over 100 nutrients, go buy some nettle, like stingy nettle, dandelion flowers, very cheap foods, but
yeah,
so.
people used to eat all sorts of things, and there's all sorts of micro. People are focused on vitamin A and E, and that's and C and all that, and that's good. But
Mm,
vitamin D from mushrooms and but the thing is, there's these micronutrients that we're not even thinking of. And if you eat a variety of food like people used to do, you go into an area and people used to eat like 50, 60 different plants. Now they eat like 5. And that's the problem. That's where a lot of health problems come from. I have vascular strains that are almost completely dealt with by taking hawthorn berry. That keeps from those peaks and dips of blood pressure, and that's I still have headaches, but not like I used to. No, and it's all just one. I used to get sick like a handful of times a year. Now it's actual like a cold or flu or something, like 3 times in the past 20 years. 1, 2, 3 times in the past 20 years, I think it was. Twice in 1 year, but but it's all because I'm like trying to eat whole foods, and you don't have to eat as much when you don't cook everything into death, and you're not dealing with all the extra, and you're minimizing your chemicals.
Then you don't have to eat
your calories.
It's both about adding and subtracting, so they're both equally important, I think. Like what you subtract and what you add, they're equally important.
Yeah, like these people who think that people hear that vegetarianism doesn't work, and it's like there's really actually no nutrient that you can't be vegetarian, but you can't just say I'm not going to eat meat or milk and just eat the rest of my diet and it's like, no, dude, you need to add fruits and vegetables and maybe eat some nuts or something. You're going to end up with some sort of issue. Maybe you didn't eat. It's like certain greens have all the iron people need, but people again, they don't bring back the variety, and they just take stuff away, and then they end up,
I mean, people have been distracted from seeing the most simplest solutions to their problems. Like it's because they want you to go to the doctor and go to see the psychiatrist, and they want you to destroy yourself in that way. They want you to go to society and be destroyed, so they don't want you to take things in your own hand and eat some spirulina. And did you have any more questions in the question list?
Well, I had a variety of of experience related questions, and in a way you've answered some of that because you have had certain sounds and you've been part of certain emotions and that sort of thing. That you do things, you try to be fully spiritually connected, so that's there. So most people I would ask more questions. I've asked about coincidences, haven't I? And okay, I don't think you answered a near-death experience.
If I had a near-death experience. Was that a question? Man, I'm feeling like I'm being kind of like some other being has taken over me right now. But I kind of like it, I kind of like it, like feel goofy and Have you ever had the experience of some other being taking over? You try your rhythm changes in a way, like your emotional rhythm, and that's kind of interesting, I think.
Well, I notice one of the things I say is that people should focus. People talk about evoking spirits and all that other stuff, but the thing is, you evoke yourself. So as I say, I worked myself into state, and maybe sometimes I feel a presence, sometimes I see something that I can't vocalize. I know I can say this is a Janute this, or fire being this, a light being this, or I can use terms like that, but I can't even imagine what I experienced in certain aspects. But one of the things that happens with some of that stuff is that I will go from needing like a full 9 hours and something sleep to fully function to after an experience like that, or before experience like that. I don't need that. It's not like I'm tired or anything. It's like all of a sudden that night, an hour and a half is it. I don't need any more. I wake up with had this awesome dream, or I went off and did some ceremony and saw this, and are just regular everyday meditation. I went to in terms of divine emotion, I guess you can kind of connect that. I was
Oh, somebody's calling you on the phone. That usually never happens, but it's probably that girl I scared before.
okay,
I actually don't know if it was a good thing to do that, but
usually it's not.
did you hear my phone?
Yeah, I heard your phone.
I shouldn't have done that. I had an old girlfriend, many years ago. Her name was Alvina Lund, and I searched her up today, and I said, man, I want to contact this old girlfriend of mine, that I haven't seen for a long time, and I want to scare her a little bit. And so I called her, have you seen the movie The Ring? They say 7 days. So I called her and said, like, 7 days. And then after that, I sent her a video of a very scary video. And so maybe that's like a way to reunite with an old girlfriend. What would you say?
Well, again,
She's calling me
I don't want to do things that may be taken as a threat, but
wait, I'm just gonna turn off the volume of the phone.
okay, well, I can we can more or less close this for the time being. So, is there any other type of unusual experience that that you think should go in this summary?
That was an unusual experience that I just had right now. Well, like one thing I feel very often is, just below, above my navel, I feel that my energy is being. I'm gonna try my best to explain the feeling, but it's it feels like it's a pain I feel just above my navel, and that's a calling again. But have you ever experienced that?
Right about navel, not in particular.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I have found with path working, I guess this is how I'm going to relate to this thing, is that again, like I'm saying, I feel like I have to. It's like you refer, something within each of us refers to every one of these entities, whatever, or could, whether it's the creator or some creation or whatnot. So when you path work, you make your way through stuff you don't even expect. Like some people are just gonna. It's like people pick up a grimoire and say, "Oh, this spirit," but when you actually sit through and make your way through these different somebody, somebody looking to a religion might actually read the whole scripture, or meditate their way through a tarot deck or something, and there's something connected to some of that stuff physically, psychologically, something that may be what's that may give one the answer. I mean, it's not a short path answer if it's going to take 20 hours a week or 78 meditations or something, but sometimes stuff comes through, and sometimes it's like connections. I ask about connections and unusual connections, net of Indra, that type of thinking. Sometimes stuff only when you path work your way through a system. Okay, these chakras have this thing and this sort of thing, but I mean, they have these attributes that people have put on them. It's like, so let's work through that, and let's work the, but it's it's all about one. So who knows? If you path work through something, you may find your answer, but kind of look at a comprehensive thing. But there could be something anger or pain wise or something like that that's not being dealt with. And either it's just straight from you, or whether it's some influence. That would be how to deal with it, I would think.
Yeah.
But
yeah, sorry. How do you distinguish?
Just like the key behind this your Summit Lighthouse, it sounds like the whole thing is the Gnostic idea of Jesus as an Ophin Logos, the word serpent, is and Lucifer as a light bringer. It's just all these things are things we're becoming, and that's what alchemy means. It's not just we're playing chemicals in the dark and hope we don't poison ourselves. It's that there's a whole process of dealing with our entire beings. That just things are life, and if we maintain a certain state, we want to stay in a certain way. So. Just huge becoming.
Yeah. How much do you think that our emotions are affected by external beings? How do you differentiate between an external manipulation of your emotions and your own emotions? Because sometimes when I speak to people, I can feel like sometimes, I can have a conversation with someone, but then suddenly, I feel like I kind of I want to laugh the whole experience out, or be goofy about something, or something else takes over sometimes. Have you felt that sometimes?
Well, even in the physical sense, we just gotta, it's like the reason why you hear why one of the reasons why Buddhism passed on is because one of the ideas is Buddha. Sometimes they mix different characters and they're different Buddhists. Whatever. Forget that point for the second. But they have the idea is that Buddha, Muhammad, Zoroaster, all of them, after their peak experiences, they went on. There was more work to do. Rest of their life, there was work to do. Either maintain themselves in whatever spiritual station they were at, or influence others, or whatnot. It was just. There's just always more to do, but we don't.
Let me ask this question. Let me ask him a better question than the last one. Is something that I've been feeling. This is like the thing I've been suffering from the most of everything. It's the best word I can describe it is dissociation. Like when I'm speaking to you right now, sometimes I feel connected to you. Like I'm listening to you. I'm hearing what you have to say. I'm connected to you, and then suddenly it's like you are there, but I'm not there at all. Like it's like it all passes through me. It passes through my awareness. What do you think is causing this? Is this like a spiritual attack, or because I've been feeling this dissociation lately very much?
Some stuff it's that there some influence may not like what's coming across. There is the simple fact that it's like some people, if they actually appear on my channel, I'm probably going to have to do an intro that, hey, I know he doesn't he's probably not going to approve of everything that I do, or I don't have to approve or agree with everything they do, and that's fine. Conversation, we're trying to get some ideas across what is but there's obviously points where we didn't fully agree with each other, and that's fine. I myself am not I was if we weren't on this, I've wanted for a couple years to do this, so I wasn't going back to sleep if it meant risking not doing this, so that's part of what happened. But people only have so much attention span too, and I don't know I know what I say stuff like it's going to make sense to me. I try to adjust to my audience, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't always know, and we haven't been as concise, but that's more of a
Mhm.
real life way to respond to things too. Is that
Do you think that homelessness can cause dissociation, like prolonged not having a safe kind of space? Do you think that can cause
that
dissociation, like
that's the thing. It's like
when you
you
have
know.
too many things to worry about?
I mean, we brought. I mean, it has came up through this, so it's okay if I remind people. It's like I have done time, and
Mm,
uh, the fact that you have to have like you know, you never know if you're going to have some sharpened piece of metal that you put somewhere that you're going to have to use it, or someone's going to kill you, or something. You don't know what's going to happen, and you're in some
mm,
filthy circumstance with people that you do not want to be around. I mean, literally people that you think
mm,
should be killed, um,
mm,
but you're not allowed to kill them, even if you could. And it's
mhm,
just going to put
mhm,
them there longer, and it's like, you know,
mm,
so you have to disassociate in a way from certain situations. That's like you just have to. It's like when you're
mhm,
hungry. If you're
mm.
hungry, I mean, part of the problem in Western culture
Yeah.
is the number one cause of death is really mistakes at the dinner table. It can all be
Mhm,
narrowed down: mistakes at the dinner table, then alcohol, tobacco, some other misuses of substances. But the and
mhm,
there's of course accidents and diseases and all that stuff too. But um,
mm,
the fact of the matter is that people, you know, hunger. Okay, do I need to eat this? Should I eat
mm,
this? People aren't even considering that. They're
mhm,
just eating because they're hungry. But when you don't have anything, or
mm,
you're that's one of the great things about fasting is you learn to stop and think about it. It's
mhm,
sort of a holistic practice. Is that
mhm,
I'm not saying anybody should abuse themselves by fasting. Intermittent, you know, fast for some hours or a day or something, and then,
mhm,
but you know, if you're getting
mm,
delusional or something, when you're that's probably the time to stop and get something to drink or something. But
mm,
the you know, just you desire stuff, hunger,
mhm,
thirst.
mhm.
Um, I mean, we all, you know, it's like
Yeah.
I went to a park, and there was this
Mhm,
guy with this, and are you a bad person? One of these Christians trying to make people feel guilty enough to accept Christianity, right?
mhm,
And the guy,
mhm,
he couldn't figure out anything, and then he found on the more common one, have you ever lusted at? It's like
mm,
7 cents I entered the park. Why? But you only
mhm,
walk your feet to a stand. Well, maybe I could have observed more. No, it's like,
mhm.
but that's the thing. We have all these desires, but it's like it's not that I have
Mm,
to talk to every woman that I see that I have desires about. Maybe I need to talk to them first, at the very least. But um,
mhm.
you know, so it's just you delay them until you can use them at a different point. You don't deny your desires. You don't deny your thoughts. You just figure out what to do about them. You know,
Mm.
and you know, one of
Interest. Yeah.
one of the particularly when you see cases where now it's more common with women. It happens with men too, but sometimes they're like it's because
Yeah.
they're not dealing with their desires, so they're pretending
Mm.
they don't have sexual desires or whatever they are. They're pretending like maybe, oh,
Mm.
health is bad or something like that. It's like I don't think
Yeah.
it's a wealth poverty thing. I think it's but people are pretending
Yeah.
to become abrogated, and in some
Mm.
way you're abrogated, or you notice there's a gap and you don't want there to be a gap, and then you kind of feel this disassociation. Um,
Mhm.
but you know, life's figuring out how to work all
Life.
that, and hopefully taking
Yeah.
good advice from what was said before.
Yeah. Hmm. And
Because
life
like
is not easy, Life is difficult thing. And would you agree there?
yes, and in some ways, hopefully, adversity makes us stronger.
Hmm.
That's rather than adversity being just fighting everything for just to fight things and then wearing oneself out. That we actually, yeah, we
Hmm.
might get damaged in a fight or psychological trauma or something, but
Hmm.
you know, overall, our spirits we can be
Hmm.
stronger, and
Hmm.
you know, you even find people. disabled and diseased or whatever
Mhm.
as a result of some
Mm.
traumas or something, and they're like, you know, in a way it made them stronger. Physically, it
Mm.
looks like they're weaker, but
Mhm.
you know,
Mm.
stronger character.
Yeah. Do you think that over masturbation can destroy dreams, the
Um,
quality of dreams?
well, there's certainly particularly you don't want to harm yourself. It's like, for example, people.
Mm.
One of the things I say is that it's
Mm.
like with people having sex with each other. If it's something that's going to show up on an autopsy because it scarred you, and they're
Mm.
going to know this dude did that, uh, don't do it. Don't do
Yeah.
it. It's going to show up with a
Mm.
scar. But some people know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. But
Yeah.
uh, aside from that issue, there's
Mhm.
again, not using all one's energy in one area versus other is probably the best. It's like some musicians. Oh yeah, I'm not saying their music isn't so good, but they play so much music that their life is just an absolute mess of stress because they can't
Mhm.
handle playing the musical instruments all the time, even if they physically can
Mhm.
go through it. It's just
Mm.
not good for them anymore. It's reached that
Mhm.
point. It's like, as
Mm.
I say with music, 5, 10, 15 minutes to create particular. I don't use music just as entertainment. I find I want to create
Mm.
feelings. So I find
Mm.
songs that blend with each other to do this and that and the other, and okay,
Yeah.
this beat and that, and maybe I'm going to play with the tempo and various things. Um,
Mm.
like as I was saying, I got during our break between these,
Mhm.
I got out my goat drum and some
Mm.
Tibetan chants and started playing with that.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
Listened to a few songs on the computer. That's the
Mhm. Do you have any music one could listen to, like you've done on the internet?
well, I don't want if
I
I at
remember
some
Nadago had some songs. He was a
oh
great
that's uh,
pianist. We
that's
heard
some
one
of
of
it.
his songs. It
Some
was
of it some
really
of
good
his
at classical music.
some of his stuff was quite effectual in that sort of way, and
Mhm.
he actually has there's tracks of his that were available outside of what he did on his channel. Um,
Mm.
uh, he's worn himself out a
The
bit, I
God.
guess. He's not real. He's not really. It doesn't sound like he's releasing any of that, doing much of that
Mm.
stuff anymore.
Mhm.
Um, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
There's. I definitely believe in the healing function of music, the devotional side too, but the
yeah,
healing.
me too.
Um, but people just don't get it. They think it's
Mm.
just find some music that you like and play that, and it's like, no,
Mhm.
no. You can relieve pain. You can wake
Mhm.
yourself up. You can make yourself feel warm, or even
Mhm.
drug-like sensations you can create in this stuff. But you got to be careful of
Mhm.
the messages too. You
Mm.
don't just turn on every other drug addict song because they're
Mhm.
trying to live up to their drug experience through their music, because you're
Mm.
going to you're going to reprogram yourself into who knows what.
Yeah.
I've
Music
met,
is
you don't want to be
music is
because you've been
sorry.
listening to the game.
One more time. What did you say?
I mean, you don't want to be in and out of prison because you're listening to gangster rap, and I've met people that I've seen that happen. Is
Yeah,
that they're like,
thanks.
oh, no, I'm never going to
Finally,
do that.
somebody mentioned that shit. Yeah,
I mean,
me
country music
neither.
too. Either
Yeah,
man hate or what or
yeah,
depressive or whatever. It's
yeah.
it's not any type of music. I'm not going to do
Like
the
the
church
only music
or art.
that is promoted, like if you listen to Spotify, for example, I listen to my trance music or whatever, and suddenly the fucking commercial comes up. And guess what music is always promoted 99% of the times? It's fucking spick nigger, fucking um, gangster rap. Like that's the kind of music the society, wants people to listen to. It must be some, Sometimes I think maybe the joy of
And
Satan is true.
look at those with the money. The
Yeah.
artist, when an artist gets a conscience, they have a cause. they're going to do something for animals or people or what. That sometimes destroys their career. They could be at their peak, and all of a sudden, the companies that are supporting them kind of don't want to anymore because this person is saying that maybe electrocuting animals isn't the best. It looks nice, but electrocuting animals is a cruel way to go. If you cut off the head versus cutting the neck, you cause 3 times the pain. If you can't calm down the animal, you if you're going to hunt and shoot it in the neck or heart or something, okay. But to cut off the head, you're doing something that's going to hurt it a lot. And why are they doing this? Oh, it's inconvenient to actually hold the animal and slaughter it. Inconvenient. Then you should then you're eating. There's too much meat being killed if that's if that's the only way you can do it. But they sign the artists that don't have certain values, and once they get their careers done, they could have millions of people who like their music, and all of a sudden their career is gone once they started putting something spiritual in their songs.
But do you think that this spick culture, this spick gangster nigga Middle Eastern rap culture, do you think this personality benefits those who control us? Like this kind of personality is like the perfect prototype for a consumerist.
Yeah, they want us attached to either not restraining ourselves, which is going to end up, as I said, causing crime and some other behavior issues that maybe aren't crimes, but maybe sometimes they're even worse. That's the thing. I'm not some sociopath that's just going to say, oh, that's wrong because it's illegal. I might not do stuff because it's illegal, but I'm not going to say it's wrong because it's illegal. I don't buy into that just because a bunch of people popularly decide that, as I said, statute crimes. It's like, a drug that's safer is illegal than a drug that's more dangerous because it's not as profitable for big companies or it's competition with the big companies. That's why Bayer outlawed heroin. But just because the apathy of society is allowing values to cause a shift. It's like the cultural drift, or whatever they call it. It's that it's being done because we don't care enough. Modern people don't care enough about their values to set forward and say, "Hey, I want my my family comes first," or whatever their value is. They're just whatever's on it's on the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but I'm thinking that this this nigger music. Sorry for using that word, but
yeah, that's probably one person did interview. I was like, I kind of don't want that word mentioned on my channel.
But do you think that this kind of nigger culture is like wanted by the people in power? I mean, it must be because
I will
promoted on every corner.
A tendency that real African Americans as immigrants, both in Europe and America, tend to be better off than the ones that people that have been here for centuries. But the thing is that it's as I'm saying, with my generation, it's not so much a racial thing, but there were people that for the longest time, the only time you could accept a hand laborer, you pretty couldn't get a career unless you were an entertainer. And then it was sports. That was it. That was all that was available to these people for the longest time, and or just they could get just to survive. And now that we're shifting away from that, and everybody's taking on whatever bad aspect that was left to those cultures, and on top of that, because people, certain people were being dealt with that should have been dealt with, and then that stopped, and then gangs took over, and all this other stuff, and individually, people have to come back. And I found people, as I'm saying, I've found people that were some very good people that said, "I'm not going to join a gang. I'm going to speak English or whatever language. I'm going to this, that, and the other." They figured it may be the difficult thing, but as I said, as with the black flag. Well, I mean, my plain black flag in particular. This is more of the yin yang is kind of comes off as a different message. But
Mhm.
is that sometimes you got to do the difficult thing to either maintain yourself
Yeah.
as you
Yeah.
should, or to change.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you know,
I think intention is more
the
like
terrorist, my Black Flag Unite stuff. That's
have you ever noticed like have you noticed that society um, wants us to emphasize each other's physical expression and behavior and overlook the intention that drives it. Like, for example, me, you know, I have been perceived very much as being sociopathic and psychopathic at times, or having showing traits of that. But my intention has never been to hurt anybody else. Um, so I think that do you agree that intention is always more important than what kind of physical behavior you're displaying?
um, and definitely on some levels. That's I mean, overall, yes, and certainly even some very mundane levels. That's the
Mm-hmm.
case. See, the if people work on their consciousness, then they don't have to
Mm-hmm.
worry about so much about these and the intention that goes with it. Of course, they don't have to worry
Mm-hmm.
so much about these thoughts and feelings and sensations dictating
Mm-hmm.
their lives. Because if you say, "I'm not going to be
Exactly.
slave to God," oh,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be a slave to something else. If you're rebelling
Mm-hmm.
against nature, you're going to be a
Mm-hmm.
slave to how you're rebelling against nature. That's just
Mm-hmm.
how it is. We all have to be part of stuff willingly and unwillingly, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I mean, we're always unwillingly being part of something. I mean, our emotions, our thoughts, these are always manipulated by our outside forces.
but it's like
So,
to
yeah.
I guess more or less end this because I've uh, you know um,
Yeah.
we formed a pretty good summary in both categories. I mean, we can talk again, but the one of the reasons why I keep returning to respond to the
Yeah.
thelema and stuff like this is because I do think that the
Mm-hmm.
way it was expressed, that your true
Mm-hmm.
will, rather than
Mm-hmm.
just empathic, do whatever you want thing, like some people
Yeah.
interpret it, it's
Exactly.
re-
Exactly.
it's
Stupid
really
rebellion. Mm.
it's really the external programming, the internal contrivance. That's not
Exactly.
your will. You're something other than
Mhm.
just how you've deluded
You
yourself
must
as.
be rebellious according to your true will. Yeah, like your true will must guide your rebellion. If it doesn't, it's a societal rebellion.
Yeah, that rebel with a
Yeah.
purpose.
Mm.
Um, and be positive with the purpose. Don't just
Mm-hmm.
like the God who wasn't there. If you've ever seen the
Mm.
film God wasn't there, he's like, look at all these Christians. Don't they look happy?
Mm-hmm.
If I could,
Yeah.
all I do is be happy. Christians actually
Mm-hmm.
have statistically they in terms of the world they actually have more of a problem, but
Jesus, man.
it's actually a
Yeah.
Western thing where people you see people
Mm-hmm.
dirt that tend to be happier than people in the West. Why is that? Because
Mm-hmm.
they're but anyways you know
Yeah.
but if I have to fool myself like the following these people have obviously fooled themselves, I don't want to be that. But he
Yeah.
drives the point home even further by saying, but look at all
Mm-hmm.
these other people. So you find
Mm-hmm.
people who've killed their kids and all this other stuff, the crusades and all sorts of stuff that has been done very directly as a product of Christianity. I'm not
Mm.
saying that you don't pick up the Bible and it's mostly good stuff, but
Yeah.
if it depends on the person being good and figuring out truth and identifying with that and that thing,
Yeah.
why does it matter so much that people are following the Bible if
Mm-hmm.
that's not besides how good they are in the first place?
Exactly.
Um,
So,
but
I mean, was that last point, or I mean,
I mean,
we could talk more about tomorrow,
I'm at
maybe.
if you want a closing point, I don't feel like we have to very
Yeah.
specifically answer any particular things
Yeah.
because you've had visions and
Yeah.
dreams, light and sounds and
Yeah.
feelings and stuff. We don't need to go in all that many specifics. If you want to say something particular about experience or such
Yeah.
before final
Mm-hmm.
close.
Yeah. Well, if people want a fuck you experience, they can always go to my channel. Like my channel is focusing very much on look at people's intention. Don't look at the physical, because nobody is perfect, and we all try to do our best, and emotionally and in our minds, but these things are always manipulated by chemistry, chemtrails, whatever. So intention, because the greatest psychopaths, the most evil people, this has been my message for a long time, is that the most evil people, evil never comes in the name of evil. Otherwise, it wouldn't be evil. Evil must always come in the name of good. And, wolf in sheep's clothing kind of thing. Like, if you only look at the outer appearance of a person to dictate if they're good, you are going to be deceived by the wolves in sheep's clothing. So you have to always...
Hear about that? You ever hear about that serial killer that they made him a saint, and then they found his records where he killed 80-something people and molested hundreds more than that?
That's so interesting. Really?
But everybody thought the dude was a saint. And one of the guys, and on the other hand, there was this other guy. There was this Persian guy going around the Middle East looking for a religion during the time of Muhammad. And one of the religions that he found was this priest, and everybody thought this guy was super pious, and it turned out he was stockpiling gold and stuff. And when he died, the guy said, they unlocked the room where he went and hide, and it's like, this guy's just going in there to view all the wealth that he hid, and basically he distributed it among the people and said, this isn't the right path for me, and he went to Arabia looking for something else. And he found a guy that would live on fruits and vegetables rather than begging people for money, and said, "Oh, this is probably the right religion for me." But you really can't. You don't know intentions; you just know yourself. But what?
I mean, the reason we have so many evil people ruling our world is because those people have been elected because they are very good at appealing to people's tendency to only look at the outer appearance and overlook people's intention. We're always deceived by outer appearances because people, like if you say, for example, if I say to you, fuck you, motherfucker, and I smile, then you are going to see my smile. You're not going to see my message. Or if I say, I'm going to kill you, then people are going to love you because you smile while you say it. It's like people only look at how you say something rather than what you're saying.
If you look at phrases like, "Oh, bless your heart," and "He's a good Christian." Wait a second. Doesn't he make his business off of cheating Americans out of their proper salaries, and he beat his wife and his kids, and he's a good Christian? What does that even mean? He went to church when he was a kid. He went to church when he was a kid. Not even sense. Come on. It literally gets to that point, and you just don't know what people mean. Or I live in a country where we have a president who's lied more than. He's not the worst president that's ever been, apparently, but he's lied more in office than anybody has ever lied in any political office in this country, I think. But not to a criminal extent. But it's like he switched political parties, and all of a sudden he's a conservative. He's the same liberal he always was. To say he's, it's just one big joke. I think after he gets out, watch, he's going to say, "Oh, you know how I said Hillary and the Democrats are corrupt? The Republicans and the current president, he's corrupt too." That wouldn't surprise me. Poking out how much of a joke this all is. That he did a better job than some career politicians just deciding one day he wants to go into office.
What? Like if you are the most good and honest person in the world, but you're frowning while doing it, people are going to see only your frown. They're going to not care about the fact that you're honest and good It's your frown that matters. It's only your physical outside appearance that matters to these fucking worthless human beings. And no wonder they gotta be deceived.
Somebody could literally look like a monster and be one of the best. It's like, that's why I say about spiritual beings. It's like, not only do these things have a choice whether or not they're going to obey or get along with humans and do what they want. So why are we trying to worship them and trying to coerce them into whatever? But I think various things are around people anyways, or in certain places and all that. But some of the most horrible looking spirits might be the good ones, you know.
Yeah.
And I honestly wasn't scared when I saw that thing.
Thank you. There you said it exactly.
That dude was nice. That's red and blue hairy Baphomet looking creature. That dude was nice. I'm not gonna say because he's a different species. Yeah. Isn't that what mainstream religion says is the actual sin of the devil? Is saying that the devil was like, human beings, they're different.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna respect the human being.
Like the Bible says something that I find very interesting. It says the devil, Satan, disguises himself as an angel of light. So evil always comes in the name of good.
I mean, particularly when the opposite sex thing, sometimes it's an attractive, charming person of the opposite sex comes to you, and they're the worst person ever. Sometimes it's like, once the charms ward off, you see that, okay, they're messed up from their damage from the bad life. But the people in that life that are obsessed with their addictions, they can't see what this even physically looks like. They can't even notice anything detail. But some of these people, whether it's without like necessarily dealing with spirits, some people have a natural charm, and that's where things go. But
exactly.
You can't tell.
This takes me to another subject as well, which is the subject of, there's this culture where you're not supposed to hurt people directly. Like if you see a fat woman on the street, you're not supposed to just, you're fat and ugly, because then you're gonna really hurt her. But what people do instead is, because they're afraid of hurting someone else, they are going to be very kind and say good things to them, which will give the other person false expectations that you like them more than you really do. And so those people with low self-esteem will think they're so special now because you're saying such good things to them, not to hurt them. But what's going to happen is that they're going to be hurt even more later, when the honesty will come out afterhand. So it's better to directly hurt somebody than indirectly.
And it's making people, like this. It turns out the Body Beautiful movement was headed by somebody who raped at least 5 women. And that was known for 15 years, but the guy was so rich that they just never looked into it, even though another billionaire turned him in. But, this thing where, no, not everybody's equally beautiful or equally smart or some other garbage you're trying to put on us. That's
like I had a girlfriend once. I don't know if I've told this story, but I had a girlfriend, and she really didn't like me. I wasn't her type. Instead of saying directly, you know what, you're not my type, then I can say, it will hurt a little bit, but, and then I said, oh, okay, it hurts, but, okay, not everyone is your type. I get that. Instead, because she's afraid of hurting me, she wants to be kind to me, she wants to let me into her home, and all those things, and give me false expectations instead. But then when her true feelings comes out later, it's going to hurt even more.
So commonly, the thing with dating is that either on one hand, people end up with worse people when they finally pair up for a long period of time, because they just got used to people that they wouldn't be with if they weren't, but it's, I'm only having sex with someone or only being with them in a more intimate way than just being there for a couple minutes or hours or whatever, however long that takes. they're like,
Mm.
okay, they're just using, they're just having people as company until they can think they can find somebody better, and then moving on. That's, you know,
Mm.
yeah, that's not the right approach. And but
Mm.
sadly enough, people, every other person, it's like, oh, I just
Mm.
settled for somebody that was bad for me because I couldn't figure out
Yeah.
anybody else just to be in a relationship. And then they end up
Yeah.
with either bad person after bad person, or they just end up marrying somebody who beats them or something, because
Yeah.
that's what they've been settling for.
Mm.
And
Exactly.
I'm not saying just because
And
people make,
girls love, not girls, but socially engineered women or feminists. They love people who are these charming, deceptive types because they only care about the outer appearance, and then they're not gonna fucking complain if they get raped
well,
or
I
whatever
would
later.
put more in the category. A more common thing I think with feminists is they don't want they it's a war of the sexes where the women are supposed to be at the top. That's really the definition of feminism, rather than
Yeah,
males and females having different strengths and weaknesses in society, working together and all that. And
exactly.
saying that
Yeah.
men do more physical labor, so just let us earn more doing more physical labor, whatever. Um, but they've kind of artificially tried to sameness and all this, but they want a
Mhm.
subservient man. And
Mm.
eventually, either the man's going to get abusive because he's just been
Mm.
trapped, but not feeling like a man, or
Yeah.
he's going to leave. And it's like, yeah, because you think it's hot dealing with this prissy bitch, or however you're going to phrase it. But all
Yeah.
of a sudden, I mean, no, I don't want to insult dogs, because dogs are kind of better
Mm.
creatures, so, those sort of human beings. But um,
Yeah.
that's it. And they think it's hot and all this, and then he's like,
Hmm.
"No, dude, you're going to get sick of this. Trust me." I think I told
Yeah.
somebody, and they married somebody, and they ended up leaving because it's like, no, no,
Mm.
it's one thing being bossed around a little bit by someone you find
Yeah.
attractive, but all the time, the rest of your life, it wasn't,
Mm.
obviously was not what he thought he signed up for, but it kind of was.
Yeah. Shall we end this now because it's
Yeah,
getting very late? My internet is, but I mean, we can talk any other days, like
yeah,
any time when we both can.
and if you want to join me, there's a
Yeah.
particular cult I've been trying to get people to respond to. If you want to actually, if
Mm.
go through a list and respond to the different aspects of this group with me, that's one of the ideas we can go about, or we can just wing something.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right. That sounds
so
great.